hello. Well, hopefully that was worth it. Right. Let me just say this. Camp music, schmaltzy sets, glittery, outrageous costumes, political point scoring, fanatical viewers. That's early evening, and then the Eurovision Song Contest starts at 8 p.m. Oh, yes, the old ones are the best. We've got a Sunday show full of debate on cliffhangers, argument about the streaming and trailers and latest news in Doctor Who world. We've got some merchandise latest, and the Who pets are here as well. So join the orbit of the Sensesphere. You know it makes sense. So I should leave you with a cliffhanger now, shouldn't I? Let's get into the mood. What will the panel think of the streaming decision that was made the other day? Do they think Doctor Who needs cliffhangers? Do they think Doctor Who has gone outrageous like some Who revision event rather than proper Doctor Who? Well, let's cue the EastEnders duff, duff, duff. That's another cliffhanger, isn't it? Let's meet them. Let's bring them on. Let's have a chat. So with no further ado, I always forget to do this. There we go. There we go. Hello. Good to see you.
Good morning, Brendan.
Good morning. I know it's been a long day for me and yours is still starting, but thanks for sharing it with us. And
thanks for inviting me.
Hello, Jeremy. Good to see you back in the Sensesphere.
Evening. I've reversed the
and
neutron
look, he's always got props. Look at him. He's always got props. And look, he's cosplaying as well. He's cosplaying. I know he is. Oh, gosh. Hello, Rachel. Good evening.
Hi.
I should sound like the UK United Kingdom jury, shouldn't I? Hello, how are you?
Oh, I'm top notch. Thank you.
Cinnamon, hiya, down in the borough.
All right, hello. We're not doing too bad, are we?
There we go. That's it. We drew 0-0. It was hardly exciting. And Brandon, hiya, how are you again?
Hey guys. I love hanging out with y'all on a Sunday. Greetings from the USA. Glad to be here. Enjoy y'all's company.
Well, this show would be no good without all of you lot coming. So there's only one more, and we might have an Australian later on. So hello, Robin.
Hello there.
Well, we've assembled a panel, but I am always a bit funny about, are you up to it? Do you know what you're talking about? I mean, this is about Doctor Who. I need to check whether you really know your stuff. So if you don't mind, we're going to go straight to it. And, oh yes, I'm throwing you in it. Guess the cliffhanger. So if you want to kind of join in here this time, the puppets are coming on a bit later, but guess the cliffhanger. So I'm just going to list them. So the Doctor is trapped by an electrified fence. Anybody want to shout out what cliffhanger that would be for which story? Shocking. Absolutely shocking.
It made me think of Tom Baker, but I'm not sure that's right.
Rachel, you're on the right lines.
I am on the right lines. Oh, I can't go anywhere.
Well, I won't. Jeremy, I thought you'd know this.
Oh.
Electrified fence. The fourth Doctor. Oh, yes, Crimpling's got it. Sadako 24's got it. Genesis of the Daleks. I think it's the end of part 3.
Of course.
Of course.
But it wasn't a fence, though. It was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm using my Australian days when I used to think of the rabbit wire fence to keep them out of South Australia. Right, okay, next one. The Doctor appears to be torn limb from limb.
Nightmare of Eden.
I know this.
That's a good. Go on then, Cinnamon.
Hive?
It's the Leisure Hive. Remember the Doctor? Rah! And of course, that was all the rest of it. It was all the tachyon generator or something, wasn't it? That was that one. Let's have a look. The Doctor discovers that the TARDIS has been destroyed and only the hat stand is left.
Frontios.
Oh my God.
Yes, straight in there, Frontiers. Why the hell was the hat stand left? That made no sense at all. It's just like, what? Right, okay, next one. Ace is trapped in an airtight container which begins to fill with water. We've all seen the blooper, which nearly killed her. But which story was for that? Sorry?
Battlefield.
It's Battlefield.
Oh, yeah. God, you see, everybody? We missed Jeremy last week. He's hot to trot. And then, of course, we've got... Now, the Master draws a gun on the Doctor and Joe, announcing they're about to become victims of stray bullets.
Colony in space.
Oh, my God. What is going on? I'll have to get prizes here. Yes, you're spot on. Do you know which episode? Because it's a 6 episode.
Well, bearing in
That could be
mind that it was
probably
slightly
a different
done.
Unbelievable. Well, that's really well done. Well done there. There you go. That's why we have these panelists here, everybody. They do actually know, and I'm sure some of them. Well, look at Rachel. She was in there like a shot at the beginning.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. I knew which doctor it was. I just couldn't remember the name of the episode.
Oh, and I forgot this one. How can I forget this one? As the TARDIS dematerializes, the eye stalk of a seemingly destroyed Dalek slowly rises upwards.
Was that?
No.
That's not the
Dalek
chase.
Master Plan. Dalek
You,
Master
you, Brandon, you've gone into
Is
the
it,
60s.
oh,
which
is
is
this
good.
it's Patrick Troughton's first story? Patrick Troughton's
Wow,
first story.
Cinnamon, you weren't even born. What's going on?
Oh, it's Power of the Daleks?
Yes,
the
it's Power of the
animation.
Daleks, 1966.
Yeah.
End of part 6, actually, when it looks as though it's all over. Yeah, well done. Oh my gosh, you see, this is a panel, all right. Right, okay, and I can see in the thread, Sadako, Crimpling, TARDIS Spider, you're all shouting it out. Brilliant. Now, just a little bit of kind of housekeeping just before I go, because obviously we've been making these for a while. If you do want to contact us, you can contact us in various ways. I'll say it fast because obviously you can check this out. We're obviously on X at Sensosphere, Instagram, the Sensosphere with those underscores. We've got a massive Sensosphere Doctor Who fan community. It's up to 260 now. And you can email me at sensosphere@gmail.com. Please do give us ideas, give us suggestions, join us. I'm always after panelists. And we are trying to establish a pattern for your schedule and habits so you can fit us all in with everybody else. Sundays 7 p.m. as you've guessed, and Tuesdays 4 p.m. when at the moment we're going to be doing Wild Blue Yonder, the review on Tuesday, so please join us then. Okay, and I always start with a subscription plea. Yes, I know. Look at the tractators. You know that our subscribers and our subscriptions, I can convert into galactic credits. I'm like a Sabalong Glitz of Middlesbrough. And so basically, the tractators, as you know, they were like frustrated dancers, weren't they? They really were. And in fact, I think most of the actors were dancers. And so basically, as you know, they were left home and dry really by the story, and the Gravis let them down. But what I want you to know is with your subscriptions transferred into galactic credits, we can buy them a dead planet, a planetary wormery. There you go. Wow. Now we need to get up to 200 subscribers to do that. That won't be one subscription. So please advertise us to your friends, subscribe like hell. We're on 170 odd now subscribers. If we can get another 30, I think we can buy them a planetary wormery. How's about that? That's a good deal, isn't it, folks? That
Either that or just send them to Sunderland. That'll work.
God. Yeah, so please like and subscribe and press your bell and all the rest of it. So we're here to actually talk about Doctor Who, cliffhangers, the latest news, all the things going on in Who. And of course, as you know, we did a Friday show when we discussed Wyoming, we discussed the Eurovision and the Who revision, and we discussed all the ramifications. But actually, since then, more's gone on. So please have a look at that. You've got some brilliant reactions straight away. But of course, we will be discussing some of the ramifications and the news in our news item. And the news item is coming now. Okay, so the news this week, I'm not doing the headlines straight away. I'm going to throw you all in, and because I know you'll be all full of kind of things you want to talk about here. So, of course, as you know, we had the news that there would be 2 episodes shown on the May the 11th at midnight in Great Britain and in various places around the world. We were discussing before we came on air that, various parts of America will be 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. Decent family times to be watching Doctor Who, but not in Wyoming. And of course, the BBC press office were going wild about it. And of course, they thought it was a clever wheeze to make it an event, to give us a double bill and join it to the Eurovision to make it a Who revision night. That was what we were talking about on Friday. And of course, here, RTD, of course, excited as ever, our kind of modern iteration of JNT, telling us that it's amazing and it's going to be this amazing chase, mystery, villain fest. And basically, those that are in it, and and then you get all the kind of background details. And just before I go to the panel to get their views, there you go, everybody in the world. LA, 4 p.m., 7 p.m. New York, Toronto, 7 p.m., midnight London, 1 a.m. Paris and Berlin and Rome and Sydney, 9 in the morning. So there you go. That's what we're facing. So, Rachel, I understand you may have an opinion on this. Are you very happy?
No. and the reason why I'm not very happy is right, let me be clear. I'm all for simultaneous releases, but I believe that when it comes to simultaneous releases, I know we can't obviously appease everyone, but if a program is from a certain country, then the priority should be that certain country where the main demographic for that performance or that program should actually be. And the fact that it isn't that way, no offense to my fellow Americans on here, I love you all and I love meeting you up and like talking to you about Doctor Who and all of that, but it really should be sort of like England getting it, UK getting it on the actual day that it's airing, and obviously then simultaneous releases for the other countries. I know that perhaps like Australia, maybe New Zealand might be a bit more problematic, but because obviously that is quite a big time zone. But if you're releasing it, it's just got to be at an appropriate time. And also, we are license payers here in the UK. I don't know about the rest of the world. I don't know how it works for you, but we do have a TV license, and this TV license goes into funding things like Doctor Who. Now I know Disney are having an input, but that doesn't mean that Disney needs to take the priority. And we also have terrestrial viewers only. So there's those who also then have to wait for it for a really long time because they don't have streaming services. And then there's all these children that have a family tradition that will watch it with their families, say on a Saturday night after their dinner, and just watch it together as a family. And because they're hearing it's going to be released at midnight, they're going to be asking their parents, can we stay up till midnight? And the parents, of course, will go, well, no, because you're obviously too young. And the meltdown that could possibly cause, it's just going to be like, it's not going to be fun for everyone. And I just think that they need to rethink it. I mean, obviously for me, it's not necessarily going to affect me per se, but it will affect other people. So
I saw on some Twitter feeds, but you don't know if people are saying, I know somebody who knows the cleaner of RTD, saying that RTD might not be happy with this decision, but I have no evidence of that. I would have thought if he's a proper Doctor Who fan and he really wants to push his program, he knows that this would be a big global event by how they're doing it, but I don't think it gives it longevity. That's the thing. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of points you said, Rachel, I mean, the family one is ridiculous. Doctor Who is known as a family show. Yeah. How the hell, yes, in Britain saying at midnight, your kids can stay up in their bedrooms. What happened to sitting together? Cinnamon, you used to mention sitting with the family watching Doctor Who. And of course, I assume if you're going to do the midnight version, you're going to get your mum and dad round and you're all going to sit around on the bed at midnight, are you, for 2 hours?
Yeah, this was the point that I raised, wasn't it, on our previous stream, where we're all pretty fresh from the news, really. We've had a bit of, I'll say a bit of time. We've had about a day at best, maybe, to process it now. My opinion remains likely the same. It's like you said, when I grew up watching this show, I watched it with my dad religiously. And then, throughout the Capaldi years, as I got a little bit older, I then decided to start watching it on my own, as you do as a teenager. But, and then, when the 60s came around, I thought, you know what? The Jubilant era is over. It wasn't for me. I thought it's a fresh start now. And you know what? I'd like to watch it with my family again. And so we did that. And I think that generally helped my enjoyment of the episodes, watching it with the family again, seeing David Tennant, a little bit of a nostalgia ride. And I was looking forward to doing that for this upcoming series. And yeah, I can't help but feel a little bit disappointed that, you know, if I can still have that, it is still possible to have that, to watch it with the family. But the way, again, like I said before, basically go off the grid, or delete Twitter, or basically, you know, every single week. If because like I said before, it's a lot of going out the way just to avoid spoilers. You know, and it's just, you know, I just think the way that they had it before was working. You know, again, you know, like we say, some countries unfortunately are going to have the draw the short straw. Unfortunately, you know, it's sad. You know, we can't all watch it at the perfect spot. It was, why does it have to be us? Because like Rachel just said there, this is a British institution, whether we like it or not. It just is. It's a British show. The core audience, this is your main audience. I'm all happy for, you know, more people to discover this show. I want people to discover this show. I love this show with all my heart. I want people to watch this show. So of course I want people to watch it. You know, I just think, you know, like I said, the core audience is here. I just personally believe that we should be the ones that are catered to. And again, I don't mean that, you know, sour grapes or it should always be us. I just think it makes sense for that to be that way. It's not just because, I want it just because it suits me best. It's not just about me. Because again, it doesn't, it's fine for me because I stay up at all hours the other night anyway. I'm a night owl. But it's not just about me. I'm thinking about my fellow fan as well.
And I mean, I want to. I mean, for this round, I'll bring in Brandon and then Jeremy first, just so that everybody's. I know Robin, I asked the other day, and timescales, but basically after that, free for all to just come in, because obviously we've got a nice big panel. I won't go around the houses; that wouldn't be fair. But Brandon, I haven't got your opinion yet. So Brandon, what are you thinking over there in America? Are you happy with this decision?
I guess I'd have 3 points. One, any American that's offended by if any American gets offended by a British person wanting it to be centered in their time zone, that's silly, and I wouldn't worry about offending any of us in that regard. There's much better stuff to offend us with. But like, in my opinion, it should be it should be centralized and centered in the hub of where it's from, the United Kingdom. It should be centered on the people who made it, who pay for it, stuff like that. So I'm totally with you guys on this. As far as when I get to watch it, I didn't really care. I'll watch it whenever I can. I'm not worried about it. You know what I'm saying? But in my mind, it's always kind of been centered with you guys. The fact that it's not is kind of silly. Final point. I do like that I'm going to get to watch it at 7 o'clock that Friday night, because then I can talk about it on the Culture Council the next day. So it works out for me, but I didn't choose it. Okay. I'm just going to make the best of it.
Yeah. Now, Jeremy, you're like me. We've watched Doctor Who since we were kids for quite a while now. And actually, my mum and dad were in the other room making the tea and stuff. I was just sat there scared, absolutely out of my skull in the front room, not wishing to move. But this is changing everything. Now, what are your points on this? Because I've not heard you yet on this streaming news.
Well, it's a bit of a gimmick, but I don't think it'll pay off, and I don't think it's a very good idea. But I suppose that the world has changed since we first began watching Doctor Who. What was streaming, and obviously different countries wanting it as soon as possible to view it. But I just think it's a bit of a gimmick. But Rachel's right in what she says. It's I just don't think it's a very good idea.
One point that I wanted to raise now with everybody before we go on to another news item is regarding this streaming and whether people are into binge watching now, whether it is family friendly or fam friendly, as Sadako 24 saying. The other issue is streaming hits our next debate on cliffhangers, which is if you stream and binge watch, there's no point in having cliffhangers. There's no point in building jeopardy because you're just going to binge the whole series in a night or two. And so it would surely change how the show is produced and structured, because if the BBC are saying, okay, the new world is streaming, we don't care about terrestrial scheduling, then it's going to change the structure of the show and the spirit of the show. And since we are going to be talking about cliffhangers in the second half of the show, I just think, oh my God, we're never going to get back to Doctor Who that I recognize. We're just going to have this strange format that's just event TV. Everyone's being polite. So, Robin?
Oh, sorry. Well, I'll tell you what I said before. Like someone said, you'll have to delete Twitter in my opinion, I don't think that's a bad idea, deleting Twitter. Just get rid of it.
Yeah, in fairness, I agree.
But I do understand
As
the
a second
problems
point,
with
that
it.
is probably true.
Yeah, just
Well, it's good for
Yeah.
the kids. The kids shouldn't be on these things, but the trouble is they are, and they are
no
going
one
to.
should. It's a mess. Twitter.
The
I mean,
trouble is,
who
what
wants
people
to go on Twitter?
shouldn't. But you know what it's like. People are. I mean, you know, there was a survey the other day. Is it children at the age of 7? It said on the wheel, didn't it? 7 have mostly all got iPhones. So basically, this can't be policed. So you're fragmenting the nation, society. They're all sat in their bedrooms already tweeting away and texting away and now watching programs that should be watched together. If there was something in Doctor Who that scared, and I really sincerely hope there was something in Doctor Who that still scares, they're on their own. I just totally disagree with this. You know, my mum would come in the room if I was scared, and then I knew I had reassurance. I remember Death to the Daleks when she knew, because I couldn't read, that the Daleks would appear at the end of part 1, you know, because she saw the titles. You know, she was there. But the kids nowadays are going to be scared in their bedrooms and nobody's going to be dealing with them. I just think this is outrageous. Timescales?
Well, Rachel just mentioned something which I hadn't even thought of before, where they have the television licenses. And that to me makes it seem just a little bit more unfair that Doctor Who is not airing the debuts of the new episodes during the traditional family time. It is a British program that has, from what I understand, always aired when families are sitting there at the sofa watching television. So you have several elements that seem pretty uncool. Having to get up at midnight to avoid being spoiled. Now, I do understand that you can watch it later at the on terrestrial television. But that's an interesting thing to think about. Also, if you're paying a license fee to watch television, and then something that you really want to watch without getting spoiled by being online in socials, being released at midnight, it really doesn't seem fair to me, and I totally sympathize. And as far as watching it myself, it's going to be 4 o'clock in the afternoon in California. The time chart that they released oddly skipped Central Standard Time, America's or the United States' main time zone, which includes Chicago. That would be 6 p.m. And then, of course, New York, Florida, Maine, and what have you would all be at 7 p.m. So yes, it is obviously more convenient for Americans to be able to watch it first during the daytime instead of having to get up at midnight. So I totally sympathize with my Doctor Who friends in England, where Doctor Who came from. It seems a little odd, and I will watch it when I can. But I was very surprised to see that this was going to happen.
Would
And like you
you?
said,
Oh,
Brendan, it is going to affect cliffhangers. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead, Rachel.
that's okay. Would you like to know something interesting about the BBC iPlayer as well? Is that
Yes,
the
please.
iPlayer not only does the catch-up stuff, but it also streams BBC One, BBC Two, 3, and 4. It streams all the channels, so everything that
Yeah.
plays through. So that particular day, that Saturday, it will restream Doctor Who again.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
how I
So
watch it.
it's
live.
yeah. So I
It's
also
just
see
your
it as a
choice
bit of a
of it,
pointless
really.
exercise. Yeah.
Okay.
What
I
they
know.
should have done is have one broadcast at 7 p.m. because Disney Plus can just upload at the same time as they did the Church on Ruby Road and everything else.
Exactly.
And then everyone else can watch it along the same time as the British. So I'd understand this like midnight release stuff.
No.
Yeah, it's good for
It's
people who have
because
to work that day, but everyone else,
It's because, as people are saying, is this the big Disney push now? The Disney said they were holding back till the start of season 14 for their marketing and big launch. And if this is the result of it, which I have to say, if you are in Britain, you have to say America is being put first and prioritized for decent times for scheduling, and the British fans are not. And I know I keep saying it on Twitter, people are saying, and Cyber Matt Strikes might join us later, and he said it's great for them. It's 9 a.m. in Australia where they'll watch it. I still don't know if I want to be watching any TV at 9 in the morning. I'll be honest with you, on a Sunday. I mean, you know, it's fragmenting what life's all about. I know if you're a fan or an obsessive, but the point is, I do want to watch things on the night time, evening TV. And I think surely most of us want to. That's when you've done your day's work, and then, you know, evening TV. But you know, this was tweeted out, wasn't it? I think it was on Instagram or somewhere. Here we go. And Stephen Moffat, wait, what? 2 brand new Doctor Who stories on the same day? This is a whole new level of insane greatness. Speaking as a fan, I can't wait to complain about it. And back in your box, says Russell Davies. Now, yeah, they can have their banter, and it is banter. And I do have a sense of humour on the Sensesphere. The thing is, but it does look to me also that it's the people at the top of media who are now having a laugh in a way at our expense. They know this is going to get a response, and it looks like they've factored that in as just a joke. I don't know. Has anyone got a response to this, thinking, do you know what? I'm feeling less and less powerful. I've got no voice. We just have screamed. Cinnamon?
Yeah, I mean, like I said there, it seems, you know, it's a bit tongue-in-cheek there, isn't it? Slightly facetious. I will say, though, that no one that I've seen has really got a problem with the fact that it's 2 episodes on one night. I know we as streamers, you know, people who come on panels will have a problem with it, but that's a small thing, because, you know, it'll mess up our schedules and stuff. But, you know, purely as a fan thing, I've not seen anyone moan about the fact that we've got 2 episodes. It's more to do with, again, the timing. You know, it's more about that I think anyone has an issue with. But
I think 2 episodes is a good thing, to be quite honest. More Doctor Who, but the fact is, it's just the air time, isn't it? Because yeah, they air it on terrestrial television at 7 p.m., but that means you've got to avoid all social media to that point. When you can delete it, but like, who was it that said it? Was it Scott or was it you in the last one that they kept getting notifications through their phone?
Probably
Like about the
Scott.
Sea Devils episode.
yeah, it was me, yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
another thing I thought about, what about the whole, you know, confidential thing? Doctor Who Extra, the whole thing about, is that going to be on twice as well?
Oh, yeah.
They'll do anything to get more views, and that's a problem. Yeah. But this bothered me in the way that, yes, I know they're having a laugh with each other, and maybe Stephen Moffat's going, good on you, RTD, you're going to get a right backlash from this. But if you know that your customers, remember, and as we'll go back to where Rachel started here, the BBC license, it's a public service broadcaster. They are our public servants, and they're having a laugh at us. They're laughing at the backlash. Rachel?
I have a bit of a conspiracy theory. You don't, by any chance, think they're trying to actually push Doctor Who to entirely a streaming format?
I do.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Go on, Brandon.
we had discussed that Friday.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Brandon,
we might get the
you
whole
go.
season dropped on one day.
Brandon, you go first. Then timescales. Yeah.
They slap the British people in the face. Like, to me, the more I sit and hear and think about it, the more asinine it sounds. It's almost like Mickey Mouse swooped in and stole it and went back on a plane to Los Angeles. I mean,
They shouldn't have set Steamboat
absurd.
Willie free. It's Steamboat Willie.
Right. It's absurd. So they slap you in the face, but then while you're down looking up, hoping that they stop, they reach down and slap you one more time with their little tongue-in-cheek banter, because I think that's kind of like spiting the chuds, as we say, like messing with people who complain about things they don't like, you know.
Yeah. Timescales.
Well, on Friday, we were talking about the fact that they're releasing 2 episodes at the same time, and we were wondering, when will it get to the point where they just go ahead and drop the entire season all in the same day, like a lot of streaming services do, like Netflix. And then that would put us in the position of having 8 hours of Doctor Who to watch all in one day, which would be fantastic, but no more Doctor Who until the next year, unless there were some specials, like Tennant and Tate returning for 3 more, which I think could happen. But I don't want 8 hours of Doctor Who in one day and then have to wait for another year.
And that depends on what the quality of the stories are like as well.
Right. Well, but you're not keeping people talking about it. If you drop it all at once, then you're just going to get one blob of people talking about it. But if you drop one episode per week, it's great for people like us. But like the fan in me is like, yeah, that would be cool to sit and watch them all. But then now thinking about like trying to do reviews and things, I would much prefer once a week, and it keeps it out there in the popular consciousness more.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting what you're saying, Rachel, because there's a few different theories I've got. One is they have, well, launching it this big in one way shows they've got confidence in it. But equally, I'm wondering, are they lacking confidence in bringing it on TV so late in the year? Because remember, in Britain, you know, May, June, July, it's kids are out. Kids are out and about. Now, I know we're saying, well, they could watch at midnight, but I really don't want to go down that road. The 7 p.m. thing on Saturday night is not good when you've got decent daylight and a sunny day and kids are out. And the kids should be out. And I always remember watching Doctor Who as a kid. And if it was a sunny night, it was a real decision about whether you continued playing football or you came in to watch Doctor Who. And when Tom Baker's years got a little bit kind of creaky at the end, the decision was easier to stay outside. So are the BBC really believing in this franchise by showing it in May and June in Britain? Because surely peak drama is autumn term. It's September, October, November. That's when you get your big figures, isn't it?
Exactly. That's how it used to be.
Yeah,
all those
I would
years
say so.
From September onwards to show all the episodes.
Was this a gimmick just to get you guys upset so that it would be talked about more? Because otherwise, would people be as passionately discussing Doctor Who right now? You know what I'm saying? At least as far as the new stuff that's coming out, it's like they certainly got people upset. And when people are upset, they talk about it. You know, seems like a stupid move, though.
Like the Bi generation. Yeah, because I thought that was a bit of a stupid move in many ways. Because it kind of I said it on Culture Pop, didn't I? Actually, that it was a bit of a doozy on both David Tennant and Ncuti Gatwa, because Ncuti Gatwa never got a clean regeneration.
That's right, because he didn't get his own first episode, right?
That's right.
Exactly. That's what you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he had the Christmas special, which was a bit, at least he can sing, and then it just I just think releasing it in May perhaps shows, especially at midnight, shows how maybe unsure they are of how well Ncuti's Doctor is going to go down with people in general. I'm wondering if they're having a bit of like, oh, should we have gone down this route? Should we do it this way? I'm not entirely sure if they have 100% faith.
The marketing skills are not very good at all. The BBC at the moment, very poor.
No,
yeah.
The trailers are very bland.
Well, we'll talk about them in a moment, Jeremy. Don't you worry. Melanie Weston, obviously, I've just put her up. Also, you've got the international football. I checked Melanie. So basically, the 11th of May, we've got 2 episodes, no football other than the usual. 18th of May, 25th of May, 1st of June, 8th of June, there's no competition. When you get to the 15th of June, which is episode 7, and the 22nd of June, which is obviously episode 8, and the climax of the season, that's it, it's over again. Doctor Who is up against, on the 7 p.m. slot, is up against 3 international matches and 3 international matches each week. So basically, yeah, I mean, and the teams are Portugal, Romania, Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic, and all that, you know, that kind of thing, Spain, Switzerland. So there's no home nations playing, so that's one gain. But yes, it does bleed into the European international football season, which means, as you know, they sometimes kind of bounce around the schedules even more, and Doctor Who could be moved. We don't know. So it's a good point, Melanie, but I did check. We only get hit twice, but for the climax of the season. Doesn't sound clever to me.
I think it was a clever move putting it before Eurovision. Because Eurovision is very popular, right? And lots of people watch it. So they're hoping maybe that people will just put Doctor Who on and then just go straight into Eurovision, right? I think that's what they're hoping.
Yeah, but then the ratings will peak, and then they'll
go down. Yeah.
Well, it's like Jamie said earlier. Originally, Doctor Who wasn't supposed to air in May, and Russell confirmed this. It was meant to air January.
Yeah,
it was going to be like at the start of the year. So, if anything, putting it before Eurovision, I actually don't think that's going to be good, because you said people watch Eurovision, but they're there to watch Eurovision, not Doctor Who. So you put it before the biggest thing everyone's going to watch on the night. So not the best idea. They can
Well,
put like something where it's not on.
It's like sticking
or
it on
like
before the World
international
Cup
football
final or
match
something, isn't it?
on television.
But they
Yeah.
like bragging rights with the viewing figures. I've noticed recently.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. I could do a ratings program every week because they keep changing what they say about it.
Yeah, and they change the day they release the viewing figures. Every
Now,
time.
here's our second big headline, which was the teaser trailer flop. And then on the Disney Instagram Doctor Who page, they trailed a new trailer on the 22nd, they said. And I think that's going to be the classy one. But basically, the trailer, and I'll just skim through it now because, as Jeremy said, it was very exciting and there's so much to discuss. Does anyone kind of say what's got them salivating at the mouth? The Doctor saying, come on, are you ready for this? Well, we've been waiting quite a while, Shooty. And then give me a number, give me a year, it's going to be a moment. You know, that dialogue is almost to the T, David Tennant saying to Rose, where do you want to go? And that excitement of his first proper season. It's the same thing again, isn't it? It's going to be a moment. And then we have a bit of excitement in the TARDIS, a bit of a jump of jeopardy and something chasing them, it seems. We get a few shots of them in what looks like the Beatles episode. Then you get Kate Stewart, and she says, very important line, she goes, here it comes. There you go. So there's the trailer. Are you all excited? Are you all up for it now? That's the marketing's done and dusted now.
Yay.
I think it was really good, and I think that it is great for introducing new viewers that might have never heard of Doctor Who. Somebody that might be catching it on Disney Plus for the first time that they've ever seen it, and that in the very short amount of time that was put into, or the very short duration of the trailer, I thought it was absolutely excellent. You know, where do you want to go? It pretty much describes the show in one sentence.
But we didn't see any monsters. We didn't see any alien worlds. You know, we didn't see structure to this. It's just a bland trailer with the Doctor and assistant.
Let's be honest, it's not a trailer. It's 10 seconds long. It might as well be a TV spot.
It's a teaser. It's a teaser.
Teaser, that's what I'm thinking.
Teaser.
Yeah.
But even like then, teasers are often long, about a minute long for most.
Oh, yeah, I
films.
agree. I totally agree.
I honestly
Like,
can't
it's
even
not
remember
really-
anything about it. I watched it. I'm honestly, I can't even remember much about it. It's a few scenes of Shooty and Millie together, but like really, you know, apart from that, and obviously the certain bit. Okay, that's the 60s episode, but there's nothing that really like has surprised me. There's no, but that moment, or you know, nothing really
But the
jumps
new
out at me.
things
Maybe
in
it's
it,
just
they
me, but
released that ages ago.
If you look at the Doctor Who movie trailer from 1996, that was so much better, the better construction of the trailer, and more exciting. And I think it drew you in, whereas this one it doesn't draw me in.
It was very static.
Yeah.
A lot of standing.
Yeah, I mean, and the trailer that they showed at the end of the church on Ruby Road had him running down a corridor. At least he runs past the camera, doesn't he? There's a moment like that, but this one is quite. I agree, Rachel. It's very. It seems to be. It's a stalling position, waiting for the big trailer. This doesn't add anything, does it?
No.
So there you go,
very
folks.
samey,
We've got
isn't it?
Who
It's
Revision.
what we've
That's the big marketing. There you go. How exciting.
But I do think the timescales is right in the sense that I didn't think about this the other day when I made my video, but like on Disney Plus, you know, it being its sort of first time out on Disney Plus, this probably would actually get someone interested. I actually do think that, but obviously because we're used to these trailers, for us it's just that okay, it's just meh. But for Disney Plus, for a first time sort of time, I get it. Yeah, I do.
It might serve as a little bit of a spark until there's an actual trailer. I think this should probably be called a teaser.
Yes, but I do agree, and we did. I'll finalize with this one, and then I'll go on to headline 3. But basically, it's not a big scale marketing like we had in 2005. It just doesn't have that same feel at all at the moment. And then, of course, just to confirm what I said, and I'll just put a big screen for everybody, a new Doctor Who trailer is expected on March the 22nd, so 5 days' time. The Doctor Who Disney Plus press release confirms fans should expect a new look at the upcoming series soon. A brand new trailer on next Friday. Ooh, a new look. Do you think we're going to change everything again? Do you think we're going to change the logo? What's happening?
Wouldn't be surprised.
And
I hope they keep that logo.
Yeah, I like the
I'd
logo.
rather stick with the devil that we know instead of taking our chances with the one we've yet to see.
Good
Yeah.
point.
And this is where the news came from, everybody. The Disney Instagram account, has everybody signed into it? Are you all following it now?
No.
No.
I haven't looked. I haven't looked.
I think my
Well,
wife and my kids use Instagram, but I don't think I use it.
I suppose there's your confirmation that Disney are now going for it. They've waited and they've waited. But yes, I think it's now the big Disney American global type launch. Okay, then. It was mentioned earlier, I think it was by Rachel, but we had the Bi Generation mentioned. Have you all voted yet with BAFTA? Because as you know, it's been considered that the Bi Generation was possibly award winning. It's been nominated.
What?
What?
Joined up. I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
award-winning.
Really? Do you think it's award winning?
Well, I mean, I'll be fair. I've always got to be fair. This is what it's up against, everybody. So we've got Beckham on Netflix. David teases his wife about her working class upbringing. Oh my God, I must tune in. So does Doctor Who's By Generation beat that? Happy Valley, which is, for the Americans, that's pretty big here. Catherine, is it Kaywood and Tommy Lee Royce's final kitchen showdown. Now that sounds spicy. Succession, well, as we know, that's been big. Logan Ray's death.
That will win.
I hope so. The Last
I'm
of
ready
Us,
for it now.
Bill and Frank, and then the piano, 13-year-old Lucy stuns commuters. Yeah, that was quite big, actually, wasn't it? I remember seeing some stunning stuff with people playing in train stations and that, some piano. But that's what it's up against. So are you confident, Rachel, that we'll win?
No, I think Spice Girls win everything. So it's gonna be Victoria, isn't it? I mean, I'm a Spice Girl fan, so Spice Girls all the way. And I'm a Doctor Who fan, but I wasn't convinced by the Bi Generation, so
I think Succession is going to win, if anything. Because it's that big.
Yeah.
And it's Sky Atlantic. Yeah.
What's your money on, Jeremy?
I've not watched any of them apart from Doctor Who, so I couldn't really say. But
Same here, man. Same here.
I don't think the show is going to stand a chance, personally, myself.
Right. Well, there you go. I'm here to serve, and that's what we're up against. Because I think when I heard that news
what do you think,
time,
Brendan? Who do you think will win, Brendan?
Yeah, it's got to be the Beckham. No, it's not. I think it will be Happy Valley's big in Britain. So, but do Happy Valley fans, if that exists, do they vote in these things? Succession, I think, would have a following. I think Succession.
I've got a question. Which one gets the most ratings normally?
Oh, is Jeremy? That's a hell of a question, isn't it? Because they use so many different ways of measuring now. It's hard to work
Happy
out.
Valley's pretty high in the ratings. It's very country talking, isn't it?
How much does Happy Valley get in terms of ratings?
I honestly don't know.
Look up now. Give me a second.
Yeah. Anyway, hello, Cyber Matt Strikes from Australia. Which state are we in over there?
Howdy. I'm in New South Wales.
Okay, New South Wales. Well, good on you to see you. And of course, you're the cat that got the cream in our debate about streaming, aren't you? 9 a.m. How does that sound?
It's fantastic. I just as a fan that's been getting up at 4 and 5 a.m. to watch Doctor Who all these years, very happy with 9 a.m.
Well, somebody's got to win. Somebody's got to win this one. You've lost it off ABC, so you know.
Look, I've heard a lot of what everyone's been saying. The reality is that the mainstream audience here is still tuned in at 7 p.m. on ABC, so you still got 1 million viewers here, which is massive for our country, and it was people like me that would get up and watch it at 4 or 5 a.m. on iPlayers, and I think it'll be the same for you guys. But I mean, in terms of America, I mean, there really is no good time, is there? I hear this is a problem with Disney Plus all the time with all their shows. They basically drop everything on midnight, and there's always a loser over there as well.
I think definitely. Thank you, Robin. 11.3 million viewers for Happy Valley's first episode. So that's big. That's big. Because we were just discussing Cyberpunk Strikes about who would beat the Bi generation. I mean, it's an interesting one. I thought the Bi generation was more of a flop as far as I was concerned. So Cyberpunk Strikes, stick with us because we're obviously just going to go through a few more headlines. So the next, well, you see, I think I knew that Doctor Who would precede the Eurovision because we saw Shooty in Hollywood dressed like this and doing a dance number. And I thought, do you know what? It's Doctor Who meets Eurovision. I mean, it's just classic, isn't it? Anyway, there he is, Oscar Who. I mean, he really likes his costume changes, doesn't he? Absolutely loves his costume changes. And of course, it went down a storm. And I have to say, I won't knock it because, you know, it's hype for Doctor Who. In this case, it's also hype for the movie he was in, Barbie. But you can't beat that, though, can you? You can't beat that. Yeah. You know, actors who are a bit more modest. So, yeah, I'm quite concerned about this. Oh, yeah, this last one. That David Tennant, who's on ITV's game show. Very nice, Rachel, isn't it, for these actors to get every single blooming job going. But what did you make of this then?
Look at the TARDIS.
That looks like a TARDIS interior.
Yeah. It does look like a TARDIS.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to see him doing something different.
It looks better than the TARDIS.
He also looks doctoring. Let's be honest, like the whole.
Yeah.
If I edited that in Photoshop, I could literally make it a Doctor Who promo, and nobody would be able to tell the difference.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, it's even got the round
game show, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got the roundels in the background.
Yeah,
this
is the hexagon thing.
This is a new game show. Am I right about
Genius.
that?
It's called Genius, and I read somewhere that it's ITV's version of Traitors, maybe. Maybe. Yeah. But yes, I mean, I just couldn't believe this. I thought this is Goldfinger meets Doctor Who. You've got the first Doctor's hexagonal bit, unless we're in the Panopticon suddenly. You've got so many hints and obvious nods to Doctor Who, surely.
I'm thinking Crystal Maze a bit as well.
Yeah, it looks a bit like that too.
Yeah.
It also looks a bit like a more updated version of the season 14 TARDIS.
Yes, no, I was thinking that the Edwardian TARDIS. I know it has a kind of vibe to it, doesn't it? It's the colouring and that, isn't it? Yeah, I get you. So there you go. We had a bit of kind of race around the news there. Now Cybermat Strikes, because I've got you borrowed before you go off, and you've got work now, haven't you, soon? Yep. So
just about to leave.
Oh, it's Monday morning over there, ain't it?
Exactly. So
we're time travelers here.
Our last Cybermat Strikes now about the cliffhangers before we go to our next item, because one of the items that was mentioned, everybody, was, and Type 40 was the one who said it, so I'll call them out, which is Dan Hadley said, a source of a source said that basically it looks as though Millie Gibson definitely was sacked. That's what he hears. I've seen nothing, so I'm quoting Type 40 because he is quoting his source. Now, so our puppets will be on in a minute to audition Cybermat Strike. So you'll be dying to go because you hate the puppets, don't you? So, so Cybermat Strikes. I might as well ask you now for your cliffhanger, your favorite cliffhanger.
Oh, mine's the classic. It's the Android invasion cliffhanger with Sarah Jane, where she's revealed to be an android and she falls over and her face falls off. To me, that's the best one.
Yeah.
What was it about that one that grabbed you? Because obviously, why is it memorable? Why?
Look, I think it's also a product of its time. So I certainly didn't see it live, but I saw it when I was a child on repeats. And back in those days, obviously, it wasn't like DVDs and videos. So when something went out, you saw it for the second. And I always laugh when Mary Whitehouse said, the drowning incident
Yeah.
was controversial, because to me this one was like full on. To see Sarah Jane's face fall off, and it's momentarily left in your mind, and then that's it. You've just got to sit with it for the week. That's massive. Massive for a kid.
I do remember it. I thought it was quite a funny moment as well, because Sarah Jane just fell on the floor and then rolled over. It was like a little roll, wasn't it? And then suddenly her face kind of reveals itself. And
it's not an endorsement of Stigron's manufacturing.
And I'm just trying to find it now. It reminded me actually also, and I'm sure my age, Crimpling de Bloom and people my age will recognize this, The Bionic Woman with the $6 million man. We had the fembots, and their face fell off in a similar manner. It just reminded, when I had to get the picture for you, Cybermat Strikes, that was exactly what I was thinking of, which was the fembots from Bionic Woman, which was a massive hit in the 1970s. For some reason I can't see it at the moment, which is a shame, but I'll show, no doubt when you've left and gone to work, I'll find it for you. But yeah, it was a shock, wasn't it, to suddenly see Sarah Jane as an android as opposed to always by Tom Baker's side. That was what got me. It was such a shock. And that's what I'm going to say in a minute when we do our cliffhanger debate, which is, what makes a cliffhanger so good or so bad? And I think it's the shocks. Everybody will mention Earth shock at some point, but that shocked me when we saw Sarah Jane.
I think it's similar to when Amy Pond just dissolved at the end of when was it? Just the episode before Let's Kill Hitler?
The Almost People.
Yeah, the one where she was revealed to be a copy. Yeah. I would imagine if you're a kid and you saw that, you'd be like, whoa.
Yeah.
What happened?
I mean, there are some shockers when you look around what some of the cliffhangers were. I mean, there were some fantastic ones, and there were some also shockers. But yes, I'm going to find you the clip, don't you, Rory? If it's the last thing I do, because it's important that we actually see exactly what you mean. Here we go. Here we go. Right. So that's what got you, isn't it? That's the striking thing. And I remember I didn't. I mean, look at the wig around the face there, but I did think it was like that. There you go, Bionic Woman with the fembots. It's so similar. Look at it. Oh, I know.
Which one came first?
It was like the 1970s version of Power Rangers, where instead of
my mom and dad watched reruns of it in the house.
Instead of wearing lycra and jumping off garages and breaking your legs, you were actually just doing everything in slow motion. Maybe jumping off the garage. Yeah, didn't work like that, did it? But yeah, there you go, Cybermat Strikes. There's your top one mentioned. So I better let you get to work, Cybermat Strikes. I think he's gone, has he? There is he. There he is. Right, so Cybermat Strikes, the puppets will appear in a minute, so you better get skedaddle. But thanks for coming on.
No worries. See you guys.
See you again.
Bye.
See ya.
See you later.
I'm glad I'm not going to work now. I don't know about you. Gosh, thought of that fills me with dread. Now, yeah, the Millie Gibson thing. I remember you mentioned this, Rachel, last week, saying about agents and contracts and blah, blah, blah. Have you heard any more?
I haven't heard any more, but who is it who got released from a contract? DeMeo, wasn't it? What's his name? The X-97 guy, X-Men 97.
Yeah, he was like the showrunner. He's a showrunner for X-Men 97.
Yeah, that's right. There was something that was said which got me thinking about Millie Gibson, and I mentioned it last night on the live stream, and it was, well, we wish him the best on the future endeavors, and that's exactly the same phrasing that they used with Millie Gibson, which makes me think now that she may very well have been fired.
Oh.
Yeah. That's what's making me think it, but they won't confirm it, and they won't confirm it until after the series has been released.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy, isn't it? Now look at this. We've had a space docking event. Hold on. This is like Blue Peter days, everyone. Jeremy knows what I'm talking about. Here we go.
Earlier.
Yeah, I know. I've just been attacked here we've had a space dock. Remember, one of the cliffhangers was Revenge of the Cybermen. Remember when they appeared out of the space dock and you thought, who's this? Now, because Millie Gibson has left the show, and I look at this. we're auditioning because I need a companion on this show to help me with all the buttons and levers and everything. So, who've we got here? Who is it? Hello.
Bonsoir, tout le monde.
Excuse. What do you mean? That sounds French. Who the hell are you?
Je m'appelle Dodo Chaplet.
Oh God, we're going back here. Dodo. Dodo, what are you doing? So what? Hello, but we don't want French. Can you speak anglais? Anglais?
Non, malheureusement, je suis français.
This won't work. The only French I know is voulez-vous, aber. Je ne sais pas pourquoi, Kylie Minogue. Who else? Voila, that was a good Eurovision song actually. Jola Taxi. No, this won't work, Dodo, and it never worked the first time. So can you just clear off? You're sacked. Bye bye.
Salut.
Oh, I could be the apprentice. You're fired. Clear off. I'm not having her. What French? Hey, we've been arguing about the British show being losing its appeal. There, come on then. Who have we got now? We've got audition number 2. It looks like. God, it's low budget. It's the same person. Who is it this time?
Hello.
She's Welsh now. What's going on?
I'm the impossible girl. I am.
That's not what I want to hear. The impossible girl. What's impossible about you, like?
Oh, I can see all of your shows, your future, and your past.
Right. I don't want to know the future. I don't want to know what's going on. What do you mean you're the impossible girl? You sound as though you're right, blooming, diva. Impossible girl.
Well, I have an answer for everything I do.
Yeah. And that accent is starting to irritate as well now. So, excuse me, impossible girl. This is not going to work. This is not possible. Clear off.
I am Clara.
Yeah, all right. We've heard you the first time. It didn't impress. Last one, and then I'll tell you what we're moving on. I'm not happy about it. This is not good enough. The job centre should do better. Who's next? Oh, God, who's this? What's she doing? She's looking the wrong way. This way, this way.
I'm Joe Grant.
All right. Well, you married a Welshman. Same accent.
I'm
Same
married to Clifford, are you?
Yeah, well, hold on a minute. Why were you looking the other way?
I can't see.
Oh, well, that's true. Katie Manning does have a problem with the sight.
I don't know where my knobs and buttons are.
Well, if you don't know what buttons, you're going to be no good. Sorry, Joe Grant, you're sacked. Clear off. Space dock, clear off. Honestly, what sort of show is this?
Is this where the budget all goes
Yeah,
to?
it's taking us forever, this one. I mean, I'm sorry, folks, but, it'll probably crash in a minute.
Need the best effects on the sensory.
Well, this is it. I mean, if you're struggling for... You know what? And Jeremy's, let me get Jeremy a bit larger there. But Jeremy, I'm not a size queen, but yours looks a bit bigger than ours. But
God, he's got all the cool toys, man. Jealous.
No, look at that. God,
50 years ago, episode 4, Death to the Daleks. Can you believe that? Half a century ago.
I know, and that's when they had a shocker because they didn't know how to deal with it, did they?
That was a good cliffhanger.
It was. Oh, look at that. I've just had really expensive, big budget puppets, and then you've just trumped me with a Dalek gun. Oh,
that wasn't expensive to make. Look, this is a ball cut.
We are hoping to get Jeremy on again when he's finished K9. You're in the middle of K9, aren't you, at the moment? And if you follow him on Twitter, you're getting close, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I've had the weather's not been great, and I've had two weeks not feeling very well, so I'll hold back a bit. So
you've got behind.
I've got behind a little bit, yes, I would say so, yeah.
Well, I think it's time for us to really, Cybermat Strikes got us kind of warmed up there, didn't he, about the big debate. And of course, I have called us all and assembled us all here to discuss the cliffhangers that had you on edge, the cliffhangers that didn't work, the cliffhangers that had you having sleepless nights as a kid, maybe, and the ones that you just laughed at and I thought were rubbish. I have to say, cliffhangers are a funny one, aren't they? Because as a kid, I do recall, and when I was preparing today, I thought, there were times on a Monday morning in the playground in primary school, you would rehearse and practice and go over the final line of the episode. If it was a dramatic one, like Davros in the wall in Genesis of the Daleks, when you saw him in the ruin, and we all walked around with our hand like that going, it did resonate, the cliffhangers. It really did. So let's go around the panel. Timescales. What makes a good cliffhanger, and which one was yours?
Well, nothing compares to the old classic cliffhangers. It seems like Doctor Who used to always have cliffhangers, and of course, nothing compares to having 20 plus episodes per year. And it seems to me, I hadn't really thought about cliffhangers much until you mentioned this upcoming cliffhanger show. It seems to me that the classic series was very large on cliffhangers, just from week to week. Now, as far as mine, that would be Journey's End. And I actually honestly believed that we were going to see Matt Smith in the next episode. Back when that season was on, my wife and I were watching it together. And when that happened, when all of the sudden the doctor, the fire came out, and it looked like the doctor was regenerating right there at the end of the episode, and it got me. I was nailed by that, and I very clearly remember telling my wife, I don't understand how they did this. They pulled off a surprise regeneration. Now, with surprise regenerations, Americans that were watching it on PBS back in the late 70s, the 80s, and even the early 90s would have a surprise regeneration because we didn't know. We either didn't have access to British media, or it was minimal. And of course, the internet was not open to the public yet, so you wouldn't have spoilers internet wise. So we would have surprise regenerations, mine being Tom Baker into Peter Davison. I had no idea that the doctor could die and come back. So a surprise regeneration is something that I had missed, well, I guess for more than decades. And I thought what Russell T Davies had done is somehow managed to film a secret episode with the next actor, and that this was it, that they pulled off a major surprise regeneration, boom, that nobody was expecting. And I really thought that we were going to see Matt Smith the next week. So hats off to Russell T Davies for that one. He sure got us.
It did get I mean, Jeremy, you remember this? It got the whole nation talking. I lived in Australia then. I am actually a dual citizen. You can tell by my accent. I've got an Aussie passport as well. So I lived in Australia for quite a long time. And I came back luckily to see Mum and Dad and Wimbledon week, you know, all that kind of time. And this was the episode that was shown. And Jamie, my partner, was in Australia, and I had the most teasing phone call with him, explaining everything that, well, I didn't spoil it, but I just said, you will not believe what's happened in the UK. You will not believe what's happened. This is mega. Everybody's talking about it. And Jamie would say, well, what? And I'd say, I can't tell you. I was videoing it and I'd take it back to Australia. But honestly, it was mega. I remember Richard and Judy on their chat show were talking about it. A lot of the breakfast TV shows were mentioned. It was on the news. This was big. Everybody thought, like you say, timescales, that David Tennant's regeneration was there. Jeremy,
Right.
Where were you when this happened?
I was watching it.
Exactly. Were you convinced?
Is what? Sorry.
Were you convinced it was happening?
I don't know. I was in two minds about it. It was very good, I must admit. But, yeah, it was all right. It's okay.
Well, of course, Brandon, you picked this one as well. So you add your contribution, please.
Well, now mine isn't so much not it like the way Scales and the way you people that saw it over there. I would have seen it the way you saw it had I seen it originally in that regard. But for me, I saw this more retrospectively, and I more or less knew. I thought maybe I was tricked for a second that Matt Smith was coming on earlier, kind of like what Scales said. But like looking back on this, like I don't like screwing with the regeneration. So like, okay, cool. Yeah. JWC, it created the rule that the doctor can harness regeneration energy. I still find that rule a bit dodgy. Same. Yeah. That's what I'm saying about it. I think it's a great scene. I think it did what it was supposed to do. But so it's kind of like one of my favorite and my least favorite cliffhangers at the same time, because I don't like, I just don't like that they used up regeneration. I guess I'm just funny that way.
Yeah. That's one of them. I have to say, it was a big event, and RTD does like his big events. It's just that once you know the surprise, was it a good cliffhanger when you watch back? Because I'm not knocking it, by the way, but you know that when this was happening, you had Sarah Jane somewhere else, didn't you, facing Daleks? Didn't RTD, when he gives you a cliffhanger, which is rare, but when he does, he tends to give you 4 or 5 all at once. So this was the big one, but you know that Sarah Jane was somewhere else in her car facing a Dalek death squad, and there were various cliffhangers like that. And I thought, Torchwood, they were under attack, weren't they? There was loads going on, and I thought, it's whoa.
Yeah,
loads.
that's what I was going to say was some of the brilliantly done stuff, because like one thing I was really enjoying about that episode when I saw it for the first time was it had so much. It like had this character coming back, that character, like the stuff that you just said about it had so much going on. It was a brilliantly crafted thing. I mean, RTD sometimes he'll hit a home run.
Culture Pop, that reminds me, I think initially RTD said that did not use up a regeneration, but I think later after that, Moffat said that it did.
Maybe that was so that they could burn one, because I guess it would have screwed up their plans if they got in their mind when they were going to have Matt Smith regenerate. So I guess they had to decide on the basis of story or something. Who knows? But that's cool info.
Caused a plot hole. Whereas, why didn't a previous Doctor ever do this?
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind of odd, man. Yeah, I totally agree. It's
definitely.
weird.
Now, when I framed it, go on, Robin.
It's something that Archibald said that I have to vehemently disagree with. He said that the Doctor harnessed regeneration energy. Well, he didn't. If that hand wasn't there, he would have turned into Matt Smith. Because that hand was there, he was able to channel his energy into that hand. So he didn't harness the regeneration energy. He
channeled it, funneled it,
diverted it into like a piece for himself. But if that hand wasn't there, we would have got Matt Smith. Like there's no way to stop it.
That's a good way to put it.
It was luck, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it, Rob.
Yeah.
I'll just mention Crimplings before I move on to another cliffhanger. But Crimpling says threats to the Doctor's life don't work. He'll survive. But the firing squad cliffhangers of parts 1 of the War Games and Caves of Androzani do. And I have to say, I asked the panel, I've asked panelists who can't be on tonight, like Michelle in America, who's advertising us at a convention. But she said another episode from Caves of Androzani, but nobody said that. I remember watching part 1 of Caves of Androzani, and I did think, wow, that's number 1, a very dramatic cliffhanger. It's very, very in your face, and I haven't a clue how they're going to get out of that. Yes, I know they're going to survive, but I was dying to see how they do it. So yeah, I can see what you're saying, Crimpling. Now, this cliffhanger, do you know, when I came up with this program debate topic, I thought we've lost cliffhangers. But actually, our very last cliffhanger of the series was this one.
True. That's true.
So actually, we still do have cliffhangers. How effective is this one? It's got people talking, has it not?
I'll say it's effective.
Yeah, I'd say it's effective because she knows what a TARDIS is, and it's going to make you question, how does she know what a TARDIS is? So she's either going to have travelled with the Doctor in the past. She could be the older version of Ruby Sunday, which has probably been done before somewhere else, or she's the Rani, or she's Romana, because why not? Because we haven't had them back yet. There's so many possibilities as who she could actually be. Is she good? Is she evil? It's Anita Dobson, so they tend to go with more of an antagonist character for her. So maybe it is the Rani.
Or a bi-generation version of the first Doctor.
Oh, a bi-generation. Oh, gosh.
Another BAFTA.
Oh
gosh, we'll be cluttered with BAFTAs. We'll need a bigger shelf in the Doctor Who office. I kept thinking, is this Susan? Because I still want Susan back, but maybe
Susan. Yeah, it could be Susan.
But this was the biggest question I had coming out of that episode was, I wonder who that Mrs. Flood lady was. Yeah, that was the thing that was on my mind.
But it caused a lot of discussion.
I was going to say, if it's Susan, then Carol Ann Ford's still alive, but then Susan could have regenerated because she is a time lady, isn't she? So
yeah.
I don't know if it's ever confirmed though, is it?
They've never confirmed she's deaf. I mean, I don't even know. I guess she's still
I assume she was, but
I always thought they said she was like from the something century back in like an earthly child, because obviously the times don't even exist yet.
I can't remember.
So I can't, unless Big Finish confirmed that she's a time
I think of her as one at least, but
I
do
always
have that
assume
caveat.
that.
Yeah.
Never child,
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
that.
it's certainly
Yeah.
always been
I'm
intimate,
trying to
hasn't it? Yeah,
recall.
you know, it's kind of been kind of common knowledge that she was.
Well, on Tuesday's show, just for a second after advertise, on Tuesday's show, we're reviewing Wild Blue Yonder. And actually, the Susan Twist character is she's kind of cleaning Isaac Newton's house. You know, she's just with him for a second. And then we see her, the same actress, in the church on Ruby Road. So
She's coming back.
basically, there is a suspicion that Susan Twist, the actress, might be, you know, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's somebody, and she's going to be all
I
through
did,
it.
I did come across an article. They're claiming she's someone called Susan Triad, who is the businesswoman in charge of Triad Technologies that got mentioned in the giggle because it's the thing that Mel was using to track the satellite.
Wow.
So apparently she's like the antagonist of the series.
Well,
That's what
there's
I've
Jinx
heard.
Monsoon as well. How many antagonists do we need? It's going to be interesting. Now, Michelle, who's not here, but like I said, I will call this out. And Cinnamon,
Yeah.
Cinnamon, do you want to tell us about part 3 of Caves of Androzani and why it's one of the hot ones?
It's
Yes.
40 years old.
Mm.
You know, I think Caves of Androzani is strong, isn't it? You know, it's part 1 where they're facing the firing squad, and of course this one I think is the most powerful because, I saw a little article earlier that said this was bad because you sort of knew he was going to be fine. Well, I don't think you did because you know I think at this point, you know, I think obviously it was confirmed that he would be leaving at this point. And I think you kind of got a sense of, you know, dread throughout the story at this point. That it wasn't going to be a typical story. I think, you know, a lot of people would worry that, you know, that a regeneration was on the way. So, and this was part 3 as well. So who knows? This could have been the cause of his regeneration. Well, we know it wasn't because that was the Spectrox. But I think in the way that it was done as well, you know, when we talk, you know, I thought about this quite long and hard, and I thought about, you know, Earth shock. I thought, well, no, because you know it's a bit cliche answer. Everyone's going to say that. And I thought I'll try and think about something else that probably got me more, and I think it's this. I mean, and it's the way it's done as well, because you know, for him to give this kind of quick speech about, you know, I've got to try and because you know, I've got to do it for my friend because I've got to try and I got her into this, and it's someone that he's just met, you know, and this is why I don't like to buy the big finished stories with the 5th Doctor and Perry because I feel like it ruins this moment, this exact moment. I feel like it ruins it because it works so much better when he's going out, you know, his way. He'll crash a ship for someone he barely knows. I like to think of it that this story takes place right out of fire because I feel like it works better and it shows the better quality. Let's say that she had been traveling with this now, then you would expect it. You'd be like, well, yeah, it's a doctor. He's going to do that for his friend. But whereas he doesn't really know her. And it's like, I prefer it that way. And I tried to pick a good example, 2 good cliffhangers from Classic and New Who, and then 2 bad cliffhangers from Classic. And I absolutely love this cliffhanger. That's fantastic. But that's for Classic Who. For New Who, I would say my favourite cliffhanger is probably got to be the 11th Doctor speech that he gave at the end of Angels. You know, the whole thing about, you know, a really good defining moment about, you know, you never trap. And you've got me, of course, slightly upstaged by Graham Norton appearing across the bottom of the screen. But, you know, notwithstanding that, you know, of course, you know, to introduce a new Doctor and you know, when people compare Doctors, a lot of people will say that, you know, is the 4th Doctor of New because he was extremely popular. And there was even talk, wasn't there, about, you know, whether they would even contemplate even carrying on the show after Tennant. So for him, you know, really early in his run as well, which I think it was because The End of Time Part 2 aired on the 1st of January 2010, and of course Series 5 aired not that long after, around April, I think. Not long after, so he really needed that again, another different moment. He already had a defining Doctor moment in, of course, but you know, this really sold it. You know, really great stuff from Matt. You know, really greatly acted, and I remember watching that gave me goosebumps by the bulletin as it uploaded, and then the title credits. You know, a lot of, you know, really epic moments there.
So I mean, it is interesting, isn't it? What makes it work and what makes it memorable. So let's try Rachel. Now, Rachel, when I asked you, I think you mentioned going way back, didn't you? Really,
Way back, yes.
Yeah.
In actual fact, I actually have two, which one of them that I didn't tell you about, but yeah, the one that's on the screen right now is obviously from the Daleks, and it's I chose two cliffhangers, and for me they're both cliffhangers of firsts, and this one really sticks in my mind. So obviously I wasn't around in 1963, but when my parents bought me, I've actually got it down here actually because I was watching it ready for the episode. When my parents bought me this in the box set, I put it on and I watched the Caveman, and it was like, oh, that's nice, nice little introduction to the first Doctor and Doctor Who. But then the Daleks came on, and it's a very the whole start to it is very calm. There's no threat. And then they go off separately to look, I think it was for Mercury. And but Barbara, played by Jacqueline Hill, she gets stuck in these corridors, doesn't she? And you just see this plunger. And there's a saying in acting that it's not how you act, it's how you react to a situation. And to be honest, to have a giant pepper pot coming towards you like that must have been incredibly funny, but she really sold it and pulled it off. She's got this thing that's coming towards her, and we don't know what it is, but it is the first thing that is unknown, that is potentially the most dangerous thing to a companion, and she really sold it. No, obviously it didn't do anything to her, but we thought, when that and it's quite a blood curdling scream.
Yeah.
She lets out. We think she's going to die.
Yeah, very
And they just cut it. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to her? Oh, I'll just press play. And I just went and watched the next episode. This was years ago. And then I've thought about it. It's like, well, back in 1963, they wouldn't have had that advantage to just press play and go into the next episode. For a child watching that on the screen, watching a relatable, almost mumsy type of character, an educator, be potentially killed on a TV show, in a children's TV show. Now, I know we didn't see that until Katerina and then later Adric, but that must have been terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
And when you read about the early success of Doctor Who, this is mentioned as the moment in playgrounds when kids were all pretending to be those kind of storks.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Rachel, it is scary because we know plumbers don't turn up on time, so it's not a plumber. So it's certainly not that. But yeah, I mean, the sink plunger, how can a sink plunger be made scary? It's stunning, isn't it?
Well, yeah. And I mean, that's all down to her and the direction that she was given. And she wouldn't have had many takes to do that in either because of the policies that they would have had at the time, in and out.
Yeah.
So for her to sell it like that is absolutely incredible and make it believable. Even to me, someone who is watching many years later, that's insane. The level of talent that she has, and makes me feel like, oh my gosh. And then, oh yeah, I'll just press play and watch the next one. But that suspense must have been. I mean, when I watched Waterloo Road, and one of my favorite characters years ago was potentially in a dangerous situation that she would never survive. I had to wait a whole year to find out whether or not she survived. That was intense, So a week, just waiting a week, that must have been even worse, especially with TV being such a new thing. I do have a second one.
Yeah, go on.
Well. Is it all right if I mention the second one? Because I never told you what it was.
Well, I'm all ears. Go on.
You're all ears. So this one is another one that is a first, and I don't think many people would actually think as a cliffhanger per se, but it's in the Black Garden trilogy. At Mordrin Undead. So Turlough. We're introduced to Turlough. Now, we think he's just there for the first 4 episodes, right? That's what we're thinking. We don't actually know. And then suddenly, at the end of the episode, he asks to join the TARDIS. And obviously, that leads into an overarching story. But the look on Nyssa and Tegan's faces say, this is dangerous. And you're like, oh my goodness, what is he going to do? He's a threat, and he is the first threat to ever go in as a companion in the TARDIS. And what makes him even more interesting is obviously it goes through Terminus and into Enlightenment, which, by the way, was written by a woman. We forgot to mention that last week. But
Yes.
he's not brave. He's a coward. And cowards can be more dangerous to someone like the Doctor, who always shows a brave face. He's incredibly vulnerable. He's open to manipulation, and he has the #1 self-preservation quality, and he would do it all for himself just to actually keep himself out of danger. And then because of all of that, even at the end of Enlightenment, even though he redeems himself, there is still that sort of element of doubt with the character that you have, that remains with the character until he actually leaves the TARDIS. And I thought Mark Strickson did a brilliant job with that. He was almost like the better version of Adric with cowardice. Yeah. And that's not a snide on Matthew Waterhouse, because I think Matthew Waterhouse did the best with what he was given writing wise. But yeah, I just thought, so Turlo, first dangerous companion, Barbara, first companion in danger from an alien.
It was good.
And
Excellent.
I was scared when I saw that with Turlo the first time that I watched it. I had not spoiled what was going to happen, so I was like, "Oh no!" So I totally get what you're saying. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh well, Archibald Lazarus has got a really interesting cliffhanger for the future. There you go. Imagine the look on David Campbell's face if Susan regenerated into a bloke. It's all you should have told me when I married
she did it
you.
while they were sleeping, right? It's just like a quiet, one of those quiet regens, and he wakes up and looks up. You know.
Because you should always own up before you're married. I'm sorry, but there should be no surprises on the wedding night.
I'd be like chasing the guy around with knives and stuff. Baby, we got to get you back right.
Can you imagine the honeymoon and you just go into and suddenly there's this aura, and then suddenly there's a change. You go,
that'd be my luck.
Yes. Hold on, I'm not happy. Now this one was mentioned as well. I won't mention it yet, but Brandon, do you want to have a go at this one? The very first cliffhanger ever.
Importance. It's the most. I mean, I don't know if I'd say it's the most important one, but it's the first. It's the first time the TARDIS moves, dematerializes, rematerializes, whatever. But I mean, and then everybody, you got Barbara and Ian are trapped in. They're along for the ride, so it's a great starting off point. I would love to have seen it for the first time and had my head in that mindset back in the day, for seeing somebody seeing it for the first time as a kid or something. But this one's just, I think it's very, very important. It was one of the first two that popped into my mind.
There's something about it, isn't there? Because you're a kid in 1963 watching this, and your teachers, you've followed into the TARDIS. At this point, you don't like the Doctor because he's very untrustworthy. He seems very much an anti-hero. Your viewpoint is going through the teachers, isn't it? And the unearthly child granddaughter. And then, there's this dramatic takeoff. It's the best takeoff in Doctor Who history, isn't it? It's about a minute long. And then that dramatic shot with the light still flashing, and then you see a shadow, and it's certainly not Potter's Lane. It's not the scrapyard. It's not Foreman's scrapyard. And suddenly you see a shadow. Classic 1960s, isn't it? A shadow. It's a good shot. And I have to say the set, because I saw the set for when they had the chase later on, that's not bad. I know they were so squashed in Lime Grove Studios, but, wow, this is the beginning of an absolute, mammoth
This is where the ride starts. You know what I mean? This is what kicks off the 60 years of you guys loving this stuff and then them slapping you in the face by making you stay up till midnight.
And it is, I don't know, maybe the world has changed. Maybe kids will be staying up at midnight. But you see, that was tea time, and you caught the kids, and you caught the kids' imagination with that cliffhanger. So I totally get it, what you're saying there, Brandon. I really do get that one. So, all right, here's another one. We can say whether, it's been mentioned, but see whether other people like it.
Yeah, I could.
This is Brandon again, isn't it? Brandon, you listed this one.
Yeah, this was my other favorite. This was a favorite of mine. I just because Well, for one thing, I had seen the Daleks, go up the stairs in Dalek from '05 or whatever. So that wasn't a surprise. What was a surprise to me was that they actually did this that far back. I had not spoiled or seen that this had ever happened before the new series. So this
Exactly.
I thought it was really,
Same here.
really cool. Yeah. Okay, cool. So you know what I'm talking about? I was like, oh wait, and that happened a lot.
I had no idea.
You know what I'm talking about? Scales when you'll see
Yeah.
a number of things and go, oh wow, I didn't know they were doing that far back, so that's one of the things I've really enjoyed about watching old Doctor Who. It's great.
I actually had years go by after watching Dalek, and I thought that was the funniest thing. Elevate, and then all of a sudden go up the stairs, and I was thinking, well, how come they couldn't have possibly done this before? And years passed where I actually thought that was the one and only time that they had done that. In fact, it wasn't until maybe just a couple of months ago that I was talking about that with somebody on Twitter, and they said, no, that wasn't the first time. They used the Elevate a long time ago.
Yeah.
Didn't know.
Yeah, that's because they realized they had a bit of a problem. They couldn't get the Dalek up the stairs, so they had to build in this plot device. Elevate.
I thought that was
cool.
the
It's a
funniest
clever
thing.
idea.
Elevate.
Though.
And I'm a really big fan of this. I know some people don't. But I read the novel and the novelization of this, and it had a little extra in it, like a extra opening beginning. I think might have been about Omega or Rassilon 1, something like that. But I like that story. I like Remembrance of the Daleks. I like the extra characters they bring in, and it's just cool. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah,
it's a pivotal story as well, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because after series 24, and like the difficult, turbulent time that was kind of playing catch up with itself, with them writing for a doctor that I didn't even know who was the doctor yet, Pippa Jane Baker. The production team was still getting raps together. The Andrew Cartmel was still settling in, and then when it came back with such a bang. And when you see that scene, it's a pre-title sequence, which is pretty rare for Doctor Who, isn't it? Where you see the spaceship and the music, and then it crashes into the title sequence. And you get these little things like these as well, where you're getting like the sort of point of view of the Dalek, and you're getting all these like extra special effects. And you see for the first time when the Dalek exterminates a soldier, you see the skeleton again. That's fairly new for New Who, but again back then this must have been seeing stuff like this, green vision Dalek. That must have been like, oh god, wow. So when it came back,
this is
with
cool.
a bang.
Yeah.
And right,
So
so
what
for
made-
its 25th
So-
anniversary.
So what made this, for example, a decent cliffhanger as compared to others? Is it the shock that you saw the Daleks going up the stairs at last? Is it that? Because when I think of Remembrance of the Daleks, you had another one where Ace was surrounded by loads of Daleks about to exterminate her, but nobody's listing that one. Do you know why? I think it's because sometimes with cliffhangers, when they don't work, it labours the point too much. And when I'm watching Daleks surrounding Ace and say exterminate about 20 times, I'm thinking, get on with it. You know what I mean? It's like, get on with it. And sometimes you do get this in Doctor Who when the cliffhanger falls flat. You get that moment when you almost feel like the director needs to have cut a few seconds earlier, cut some of the dialogue out and just go dramatically. So the Ace one, to me, I think it's the end of part 3, just falls flat. It's like, oh, yeah, she's not going to die. All you're doing is waffling and shouting at her. But this one, I think, had shock value. I don't know what.
Yeah, McCoy did a pretty decent job of conveying, the fear on his face. Just like maybe not quite as good as Barbara, but like I feel like he did a pretty good. Like, oh my gosh, they can hover now. And I'm partial to him anyway. I've read so many of those novels with the Seventh Doctor that he's one of my favorites.
So that was that. These are our honourable mentions. So please, in the thread, you tell us yours. You've been telling us quite a lot already. It's like Cybermat Strike said, what about the Cave of Skulls? I mean, there was another one in the Caveman story, but I'm going to throw loads at you now, right? So you can join in and say which ones are of note to you. Oh, by the way, this was mentioned by one of us. Let me just get this one up. Brandon, is that you again?
Yeah. Well, I was, real quick. I won't divert us too much, but I was, as somebody who has to put their own junk together, like I know it's sometimes a hassle, and so I was sitting here and I was like a goob, like writing down a notepad what I thought about like the cliffhangers, just kind of writing down what I was going to say, or not what I was going to say, but the ones and why I liked them. And I thought, I'm going to send these to Brendan to help him out because I know he grabbed some pictures before and everything. So I was just helping homie out, you know. but this one is really special to me because this was my first regeneration as a new watcher. Now, I had caught myself up to this point, but the 50th anniversary special was my first live view. And then, of course, this was after that, the Christmas special. But I had just gotten into it. I knew that a new doctor was coming. And so, man, they really left me anticipating that next season and seeing what it was going to be like with him. And I watched in the thick of it, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's going to be something else, man. This Capaldi guy's going to be something else.
Oh, wow. So this was your first regeneration that you ever watched, and it was very different to other regenerations.
Well, I saw 9, 10, and 11,
Yeah.
regenerate, but this was my first that like was my doctor. I'm watching
Oh,
live.
okay.
You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Yeah.
yeah.
So I don't get to then like what you're talking about, Rachel. This was the first point where I didn't get to just go, okay, play, and then play the next one. Then I had to play the waiting game like the rest of it.
Okay, got you.
So you've added another element there, Brandon, because what you're saying is this is a memorable cliffhanger, but this is also an introduction to a doctor. So that throws another spanner question in the works here for everybody. The twin dilemma, when you got, it was like a cliffhanger story to the new introduction of Colin Baker's Doctor, the Sixth Doctor, when you saw how outrageous he was, how he was having issues with himself and his anger management, so to speak, and attacked Perry. So, and this iteration of the Doctor in the early days went through that same process in Deep Breath. And so are you saying there's a kind of added element to this, the shock factor that you saw a brand new Doctor, he wasn't what you expected, Brandon?
Yeah, and then well, I knew that the regenerations could kind of go one way or another. He's probably going to be a little maybe incapacitated after, but I thought it was a little. I guess, and I know there's some sort of explanation because Matt Smith blew up all the probably ships and got that energy out of them. But this was a real quiet, almost classic Who type regeneration where he just kind of takes his head back, he comes forward, and bam, he's Peter Capaldi. And then when he says the thing about not being able to asking her if she knows how to fly the TARDIS, I was like, oh, wow, okay. And that kind of gave me an indicator of where they were going. Like, oh, he's going to be messed up in the beginning. But it just left me like it was the first time I got to experience like, oh, God, I love this show now. I'm going to be reading about it. I'm going to be looking to see when it's coming back, all that sort of stuff. It was a good feeling because I was really glad that I had discovered it.
Yeah. I mean,
really cool.
This one was mentioned. I think it was actually Cinnamon. And before Cinnamon comes in, I obviously use this as our kind of advert. It's a literal cliffhanger. I had problems with it. I had problems with the Sylvester era, sad to say. I was older then. I was older and I was more cynical. And I just thought, the thing is, and I don't want to spoil your fire, Cinnamon, but why did he climb onto that in the first place? I don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, isn't the official explanation that they just literally needed to end the scene and like they were overrun time? No, they had to end it right there and then, and they didn't have nothing else. You know, I've often wondered myself, actually, why is there a more reason? Was that the actual reason? Surely it can't be, because that actually seems to me very unprofessional. Just to end it just like this, it's so ridiculous. There's no logic to it whatsoever. I know they recently released this season for the season 24 Blu-ray, and I wish, and it probably would have took a bit of effort in fairness, but I wish they could have edited it just slightly where there was like he's walking, maybe add an extra scene where like a bit of the ice fields falls off and then blocks his path, and then there's there's another level below him that maybe he's trying to get to, and again maybe that would help it make more sense. I don't know how how much that would cost wise, how much that would need to do. But this is it's the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers, isn't it? It's got to be. It's the most famous because the most suicidal, funniest. Not that those two words often go together, but it's the most bizarre cliffhanger probably to ever cliffhanger. It's totally inconceivable.
This is the image my brain conjured when I saw Brendan was doing cliffhangers. Like that was, oh, he's dangling. Yeah, I'm not going to say that one, but I'm glad Cinnamon did because he took that bullet for me because I'm a kind of fan of it. I'm secret fan of it.
As you can see, I went for the, yeah, it was too obvious, wasn't it? And that's the thing. It was like, well, what the heck? Yeah, I know. I find that
But it's the most iconic. For me, it's the most iconic, you know.
Yeah, I admit it's iconic for all the wrong reasons, because there is like there's no like honestly there really is no like in headcanon. Like, what can you say about this? Like, what?
Yeah, it's almost as if it's making a joke of cliffhangers itself.
Yeah. Yes,
Probably.
we'd call
Good
it some
point,
sort of
good point.
intertextual
Possibly.
reference, wouldn't we? We'd say it was doing something kind of apparently clever. I mean, there were some amazing ones, and I'm just going to shoot through them, and please join in on when you've seen these and thought, wow, this is what makes a good cliffhanger. Because I've said, is it a shock value? Is it the mood and the music, how it builds? Because I have to say, as a kid watching Doctor Who, especially episode 1, you started to look at the clock and you thought, we're going to build to a cliffhanger soon. And you started to look for the signals and the signposts. And actually, I got quite excited waiting for the cliffhanger. I was like, you know, that's what I wanted. But there were some fabulous ones. I mean, before any of us were around. I mean, the Dalek coming out of the water. I mean, we mentioned the Dalek elevating and going up and confronting Sylvester McCoy, but a Dalek coming out of the River Thames? Wow. You know, that's a shock. That's a shock. Plus, you thought they were stuck on Skaro at that point.
Yeah.
You had an invasion, you had the reveal, the big reveal, and then later on we had the Cybermen. Of course, we had screams. Bonnie Lanford was on TV today, and of course, the notorious thing is when she talked about Terror of the Vervoids, when she talked about what note do you want me to scream in so that it could go straight to the credits, and she I mean, she's so professional, she did that really well. But yeah, the screaming cliffhangers, whether they'd be allowed now, Rachel, regarding this is not so hot on female representation.
Well, it's a product of its time.
Wasn't she? Was it Terror of the Vervoid, where she's a 30?
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, it was a good scene, actually, because I was struggling with Colin Baker, not Colin Baker. I was older, and I was just struggling with what Doctor Who was trying to do. But the Terror of the Vervoids cliffhanger, because can I say, since we're talking about cliffhangers, poor Colin Baker, when he had Trial of the Time Lord, how many cliffhangers was just a zoom in on his face?
Oh, they really did him a dirty. They really did him a dirty. It's much better than that.
yeah,
he is,
Robin, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, because the poor man, it's like we had a stand-up comedian over here called Les Dawson who could gurn, and you felt as though Colin Baker would just have to pull another face all the time just to make it distinctive from the last cliffhanger. This wasn't quite a cliffhanger, but it was building to the cliffhanger, wasn't it?
It was a good reveal.
This would have been a good cliffhanger. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, because the actual cliffhanger was the Master had stolen the Doctor's TARDIS. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish was that it stayed with Derek Jacobi for longer.
Yeah.
And given him more time, because yes, he's great as Professor Yanni, but he would also be great as the Master. And I know Big Finish have given him some stories and all of that, but it really would have been nice to at least have him for the next episode.
And I'm sure they could have done
or
it.
longer. Oh, sorry, Yana. Sorry, I said Yanni. I was thinking
Yana.
Yana. Yeah.
We then had this period when under Russell Davies we had the big cliffhanger regarding the world, Armageddon, apocalypse.
Again.
This one is the first one. Part into the way is well, it wasn't called that. Was called Bad Wolf, wasn't it? But this cliffhanger, I remember, as you know, Jamie always tells me off, just in case nobody knows, I was a teacher. But I remember going in the staff room, and I remember loads of teachers who didn't have any interest in Doctor Who was suddenly going on about this cliffhanger, and they were all going on about, number one, the women were saying they quite liked Chris Eccleston. They quite liked the Flash Gordon element of space opera. I'm coming to get you. I'm going to save you. You know, that kind of thing. It was very Flash Gordon in some ways. Yes, Jamie, he's listening in the other room. He's our puppeteer. Yeah, I was. Believe it or not. It's just in case anyone forgets in my dotage. You then had the big reveal and end of time, didn't you? The Time Lords are coming. That big drama. the trouble is when the RTD started doing all these big dramas and, everybody's getting attacked by the Slovene, that was the impossible planet when they were surrounded. And then you hark back to the old days. Now, I'm just flicking through, folks, but are there any kind of other cliffhangers of distinction?
What about the
John-
first? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
The first regeneration
Wow, yes.
from William Hartnell into Pat Troughton.
Yeah.
Because obviously nobody was expecting that. Or at least as far as I know, nobody was expecting that. I mean, that must have been quite a something, knowing that the guy that was the face of the show was going to have to change. That must have put some dread into some of the children.
Wow. Yeah, that must have been really weird.
And
that makes me wonder, did the British people know what had the media covered that there was going to be a new actor back then?
Just happened?
Well, not with Pat Troughton, was that? I don't.
So it was a surprise.
Was it a surprise?
Oh, yeah, I think it was a complete surprise, wasn't it?
I think the surprise was, how do you do it? I think, those in the know knew that Patrick Troughton was the replacement. But I think the shock was, well, how do you do it? I mean, remember, what does series do? From Dallas, EastEnders, everybody. What you do is you just cast a new actor. That's it. You don't explain it.
There's no way they would have known that he would morph with his special powers into a new actor. If they did know that there was going to be a new one, if they did, I'm not sure if they do, but I think Robin might be looking it up for us. But even if they did know, then surely they didn't know that it would happen in the way that it did.
I don't know.
And what would subsequently go on to happen, I suppose,
I think Rachel's on. Sorry, and I'll let you speak more about it, Rachel, since you've spotted it. But I think you're onto something there, Rachel, because that was a cliffhanger in itself. Because I do think a lot of people might have thought, well, Patrick Troughton will just appear as the Doctor, end of. We just carry on. No explanation. When you replace a character, like James Bond, when he's a new actor, they don't explain it. You just carry on. And that was a distinct possibility that it's just somebody else is continuing the program. But of course, as you say, this was a hell of a shocker and so clever.
Genius. Nobody else had ever done this. They just replaced them and didn't say anything. This was genius, man.
Wow. It's one of the best plot devices I think I've ever seen. And Pat Troughton, ironically, I've heard this along the grapevine, that thought that it was a ridiculous idea.
Yeah,
I heard that, and he went in. He did the regeneration. It wasn't William Hartnell, and it became one of the most successful plot devices that's ever been. And having said that, again, like over and over again, because eventually they started to announce regenerations, right? So they would that fear, that dread of the anticipation of a new Doctor coming in and knowing that the current Doctor was going, for children had to be relived again and again and again and again. But particularly the first
constant trauma.
Constant.
Yeah. Well, I thought when I heard that Tom Baker was leaving, so I was of a certain age then, when Leisure Hive started and this happened to him and he aged badly, in there, I thought this was part of it. I went for all that sort of stuff. So when you get half a bit of gossip, you soon add it together. Now, I've done a disservice to Colin Baker because Trial of a Time Lord did a disservice to him. But I think this was one of the best directed, best written, actual literal cliffhangers going. It was so, because it was pretending to be a watching TV almost, wasn't it? But I thought that was really good. And the zoom in on him and cut, I did like that. And yes, timescales. You want to go? I've got the shot. Don't worry, timescales. You were saying there's another good one. Go on, tell us about it. Timescales.
You're muted.
There you go. Let's have a look.
Sorry, I had my mic off there. Which episode ended with the cliffhanger of John Hurt is the Doctor?
Name of the Doctor.
Okay, Cinnamon just answered that. The name of the Doctor.
Name of the Doctor, yeah.
Right.
Go on, tell us about that.
Cliffhanger there. Well, I was shocked. When I saw that, I thought, wait a second, who in the world? I didn't know that John Hurt was a famous, successful British actor. And I remember seeing that John Hurt is the Doctor, and it got me. There's another one that just completely nailed me right there for the episode to end. and say John Hurt is the doctor. And I mean, no disrespect to John Hurt by not knowing who he was. But I'm an American and I don't watch much British TV, so I think it was fair enough that I did not know. And
Yeah.
as far as seeing a new doctor on the screen and they end it like that, yeah, that was a huge cliffhanger to me.
I
It's a good.
knew.
It
Well, I was just-
confused me as well because I remember watching it and my young brain actually thought that they were saying that John Hurt was the name of the doctor
Oh.
because of the episode. I don't know how I thought
That's
that.
good.
But
That's a
Oh.
good one,
think
Stephen.
that was his name. But
I knew who
I
he
don't
was.
know how. I can't remember how old I was.
Like-
I didn't know who he was either.
I popped when I saw that it was him. I can remember looking over at my wife at the time and go, "Oh man, they got John Hurt for Doctor Who's freaking awesome." So I knew he was from like Alien, and he's been in a lot of stuff, Hellboy. But I mean, like
Harry
it's like what
Potter,
Scales
that's
is
what I knew
saying.
him
You
from.
could easily have missed and not known him or Elephant Man. That's a good movie. You should go watch
Yeah,
for him.
yeah.
Scales.
Right.
And
Naked Civil Servant.
I've never heard of, but he was just like such a great actor, man. R.I.P. But it was exciting. It was a great cliffhanger for sure.
It was. I mean, did anyone know that John Hurt was in it? I mean, honestly, to see that reveal at the end,
I didn't know.
Wow.
No.
I mean, that just got me to see, oh my God, somebody of that stature. And he just turned. And I mean, did you like that style that RTD started to do, which is to be continued in big dramatic Superman titles? And then we did it with the War Doctor, didn't we? Suddenly, John Hurt is the Doctor, or whether it said the War Doctor, I can't remember what it said. Did it just say
I
the
think it's just the
Doctor?
Doctor,
the
introducing
Doctor.
John Hurt as the Doctor.
As the Doctor, yeah. Robin's right.
As the doctor, right.
So Darko 24, it was intriguing in one way, but it also, possibly a deal breaker regarding where we were going with all this, because as we know, it's opened the door to lots of doctors filling in every little gap going.
I think
That I don't like. I don't
I
like.
think it was Eccleston they were trying to get for the War Doctor, wasn't it? But didn't he turn it down, and that's what it brought John Hurt in?
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah,
comment.
they were quite close to getting him as well, but fell away, didn't it?
There's a comment on here from Michael. He says, sorry, but even though Mr. Hurt was a fantastic actor, I saw that introduction as just another measure to screw McGann out of being in the show. I actually kind of agree with that because I kind of wish that it was McGann who did it.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
yeah,
that would have
at the
been
same-
my preference, but that doesn't mean to say that I didn't like.
And McGann can still play him because when they did that awesome little short, The Night of the Doctor, it's okay for him to have aged because a lot of time can have passed between whatever. And so they could play that off just like they did with John Hurt being young when he first regenerates, like through CGI and the reflection.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be cool.
Is it possible by that time that Night of the Doctor might have already been recorded? So that's why, obviously, it was with John Hurt.
I don't know.
Could be.
I
That's
don't
what
know.
I'm thinking. Yeah.
I really don't know about. I mean, honestly, Name of the Doctor surprise. Sorry, not Name of the Doctor. Night of the Doctor. Paul McGann's little scene surprised me. There were loads of surprises that Stephen Moffat actually managed to get through, I have to say. So I wasn't aware of any of this going on. I mean, one of the famous cliffhangers wasn't that one. I have to say, when you Google it, it's very hard to Google Deadly
The little train. Yeah.
It was the, as you know, it's the drowning scene, but the Matrix element, it was like the perils of Penelope Pitstop. It was the classic, you just throw in the anthill mob and everything. And I don't know, it was a kind of unreal world, that one. You've got David Tennant, We Surrender. I mentioned Revenge of the Cybermen earlier, although I should have been able to read the titles. Obviously, that Genesis arc, when the Daleks appeared again. Pyramids of Mars. Come on. I bring Sutek's Gift of Death.
Man, Sutek looks so cool. That was one of the coolest looking characters.
Brain of Morbius.
I mean, you can tell my period, Brain of Morbius. Behind you.
Oh, that,
of course.
yes, was blind.
That's actually one of my favorite cliffhangers as well. Just douche. And he's the only actor. He always said he's the only actor to ever shoot the Doctor and then become the Doctor.
Yeah, I like his line of patter actually, because he also says, really, he's the only, he's still a doctor because he hasn't regenerated, really, doesn't he?
Yeah, he says that too. Although he did regenerate in Big Finish.
Yeah, he always says that line of conventions.
Now, listen, panel, I'm going to call you all out. Nobody mentioned this.
Yeah, it was
because it's too easy an answer. That's why I didn't pick it.
It was a shocker. I remember because I was getting the Doctor Who magazine and you were pouring all
It's a great cliffhanger, don't get me wrong.
Not as shocking as the end.
Yeah, exactly. And none of you listed Adric either, honestly. You don't care. Poor Matthew Wardhouse.
You're not wrong.
Well, no, it's just a bit of a bit predictable to choose that one. I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, sorry, Rachel. I'm always predictable.
I'm surprised no one's mentioned Heaven Sent. That's a good cliffhanger when he just walks out and he's on Gallifrey all of a sudden.
Yeah. But it's not as good as mine, Robin. No. But
yeah, that was a good one for me. Yeah.
But I will say with Adric, seeing as we are on the subject now, he was a teenage boy. So to kill off a teenage boy is quite something for children watching the show.
I about killed off 10 of them yesterday when I threw that cookout.
Oh, did you? You annihilated them with food.
When we get done, I got one to take care of right now. But yeah, that's a good point.
So Jeremy, I want to ask you, because you were probably watching it as well. I can't assume anybody else, but please come in afterwards. But I was watching this. Everyone goes on about the non-music credits and all the rest of it. I just thought I have to tell the truth. I saw it. I didn't expect Adric to die. I wasn't crying. It didn't bother me, but I thought, wow, I liked the fact that Doctor Who was getting tasty and we could have proper death. The credits to me was a bit, everyone goes on about it as if it was an amazing thing. To me, it had no effect. Jeremy, do you remember this?
Stupid.
I do remember it, yes, and they soon got over it because they went on a flight from Concorde afterwards.
Oh no!
In the next story,
let's go look at
so they got over it quite quickly. But
it wasn't like Heaven Sent, Hell Bent. It wasn't like Hell Bent when Peter Capaldi's Doctor suddenly can't cope with Clara disappearing and being attacked by a raven and everything. But
Invasion of Time, that's a good cliffhanger.
Yeah,
Sontarans.
That's what I thought about.
Yeah, because I was struggling with, there was football outside and it was probably sunny and all the rest of it. But I was starting to get a bit bored with these pieces of plastic that were kind of shimmering on Gallifrey. I was starting to lose it. The only thing that kept me going was obviously Tom Baker's performance, because we didn't know what he was up to. That's what kept me going. But then when the plastic bags turned into the Sontarans, I was glued. Unfortunately, it was a
Vardens. I quite like the Vardens. I got a soft spot for the Vardens.
I love his behavior in this serial. I look like you don't know, he's just going off the rails, man. Becomes president. This is one of my favorites. Yeah, that's one of my favorite Doctor Who stories.
And JWC Reviews has just said, I'm sorry, we were obviously of a similar age. I can't deal with this. I remember being impressed when Lynx took off his helmet. I remember there was a program on BBC Two called Did You See? And they did a special talking about Doctor Who cliffhangers. And they talked about how it's amazing how this little program can scare kids by just the reveal of taking a hat off or opening a door or showing a hand at the end of the episode. But you know what it was like watching Doctor Who. You saw maybe a hand, like at the pteroleptal hand, banging on the dashboard, so to speak, and then you saw its face later on. Lynx taking his helmet off was an amazing moment. I do remember that. And Kevin Lindsay really helped with that, sticking his tongue out. Yeah, I agree with your JWC Reviews. Yeah, I know. That was a moment, I have to say.
When Rachel said something earlier about this was the first actor to shoot the Doctor, that actually reminded me of Journey's End and that cliffhanger and that surprise regeneration. Wasn't that actually the first time a Dalek ever shot the Doctor successfully?
Well, yes, because Frontier in Space. Was I right in Jeremy? Frontier in Space, did it shoot the Doctor near the end and then he collapsed on the MFI bedding in Planet of the Daleks?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I just watched that for the first time last night, because I'm taking care of the Third Doctor stuff. Season 11's all I got left.
Well, Brandon, the problem is it was that bedroom furniture. You started to wonder about what goes on, Joe and the doctor and everything, when suddenly all this MI5 furniture appears.
The bed, yeah. When the bed comes out, I was like, man, that's awesome, dude. And then I thought, I bet there's a button that will like turn on the lights and the music for like when the doctor doesn't have a companion, you know, and he just wants to hang out with some random lady.
Like that. I always wanted a bed like that. You just
another one I always thought was fairly decent as well was Whittaker. You know, her first scene getting thrown out the TARDIS. You know, although what happened next I didn't enjoy too much, but you know, in fairness, I thought that was quite.
Well,
there is a lot of good
and I had to wait
in the
quite a long
Whittaker
time
era.
to see the next one. You know?
I'm not gonna lie. I mean,
What was
obviously,
that, Robin?
Spyfall Part 1, fantastic cliffhanger. Nobody saw it coming. Like, we had no idea this guy was the mask.
Yeah.
And her getting turned into Weeping Angel as well.
So you get turned into
That was
Weeping
quite
Angel.
a big moment.
Yes, I've got that somewhere, but I won't race to it. But Cinnamon, you're kind of bringing up another interesting point. Your cliffhanger that you just mentioned of the Jodie Whittaker was at the end of that first episode. Well, she just appeared, didn't she? She falls out of the TARDIS. Now, this is the problem with some cliffhangers, isn't it? Some cliffhangers are extremely dramatic, and you do think, like Caves of Androzani Part 1, how do they get out of that? But the trouble sometimes with cliffhangers is the get out bit is rubbish. You know? Can anyone think of cliffhangers where you looked forward to the next episode and you thought, that was a cop out, that you've tricked us and taken us down this path, and actually it's just a get out? While you're all thinking,
well, the regeneration one, I'd have thought for Tennant, you know, to have the big regeneration, got everybody talking, and you know, as big as it was, it does resolve itself fairly quickly, and you know, he pours it into the hand, and then they move on, and you know, he sort of acts like, yeah, it's normal.
it's like I
think he briefly met. I think there's another scene where he quickly mentions, you know, he pours it in. He basically explains what happens, obviously. So any viewer that was left confused, they do explain it. But apart from that, they do fairly quickly move on from it.
I used to hate sometimes actually the Peter Davison ones where he was threatened in the Visitation with a beheading, and then stop. And then same in Photo Doomsday.
Yeah, it's a lot of that. It is usually someone pointing a gun.
There were loads of cliffhangers
no,
when the doctor's going to die, and you know that next week somebody just goes, stop. And that was it. And you think, come on. The same as Snake Dance. You know, when Nissa screams and they're about to do it, and then, as you know, I think it's his the mother goes, stop. And you think, oh, come on.
Which is why I think the Caves of Androzani ones work, because again, it's the same thing. The Doctor's in danger, but obviously the twist there is that okay, they were android, and of course in the third part, you know, he does crash the ship. You know, there isn't anyone coming in to save him last minute. You know, so again, you know, when you actually have that actual peril actually be there, and not have someone just, you know, stop a beheading or, you know, charging last minute.
Can I share with everybody one of my guilty pleasure cliffhangers? All right.
What is
I'm scared. I'm scared.
I am a little scared, but
we know cliffhangers. We know cliffhangers should get you back for next week and scare you and everything. Right. This is my guilty pleasure. Okay. This is it. It's City of Death. I think it's end of part 2 or 3 when Captain I can never say him. Captain Tancredi. And it's high camp. The whole thing is, it's so dramatic when he lands in Renaissance Italy, and he'll be here instantly. It's a dialogue. Douglas Adams, it's fantastic. He'll be here instantly. Well, I'm dying to talk to him. Da, da, da. And then what are you doing here? And then a nice little bit of music. And then I think that's the question I should be asking you.
That's precisely the question I ought to be asking you, Doctor.
Oh, yeah, I loved it, Jeremy. It didn't scare me. I just thought, oh, wow. I used to, because I only did the audio recordings then, and I played this incessantly. It just felt well timed, had a rhythm to it. I loved it. Rachel, can you recall this? I mean, you loved the acting stuff. Wasn't this well delivered, or did you think he's a glutton for camp? It's all right.
Sorry, I was muted. I actually can't really remember this episode. I need to do like 1 to 4, like straight through again, because I haven't done them for a long time. So I really can't remember it very well.
Well,
So
if you want camp and a great, well-paced cliffhanger, I love it. Anyone else remember it and love it, or am I in a minority of one?
give me some time. I'm waiting for my iPad to come back so I can watch it on iPlayer, but my sister's got it at the moment. So give it some time because I don't own this one, but I will watch it and then I'll be able to answer it.
Well, Sadako 24 seems to be helping me. It's more of a high intrigue cliffhanger. Yeah, how can they both be in Renaissance Italy? Well, we know how the Doctor can, but how can the Jaggeroth, so to speak, be there? Yeah, the jaw-dropping moment. So, yeah, I mean, I love that moment, but I'll look as I'm in the minority of one. I thought Douglas Adams, well done. I always think of the younger ones on the panel. It's called stereotyping this and generalizing, but, you know, the Pandorica.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a good one as well.
Yeah.
You know, having
Yeah, I
all
thought
the,
this was a good one.
you know, all the Doctor's enemies, you know, all massed against him, you know, in this format, and then you know, again, with the, you know, when you see the next
This is a
episode,
big
and you see
one.
that Amy's the one that's in the chair, and you think, how on earth is Amy there? What on earth has happened? And then you
Yeah.
know, timey-wimey, you know, it's
Timey-wimey.
basically all the episode is back and forth, time vortex manipulator.
It
You
was
know the drill.
It was really difficult to think of ones from New Who because there aren't really that many, is there? So
Right.
it was really difficult to think of one.
And
But
does
that
it
is one
count-
of the better ones.
the one on the screen now?
No, not that one.
Okay.
That was the one before with Matt Smith. Oh no, the one
The
before.
Pandorica. The Pandorica. I got it.
Pandorica, yeah.
I'm going too
Oh,
fast. I'm going too fast.
you'd moved on. I was still in
You know me,
Pandorica.
and nimble-footed. But,
Find me stuff.
That's an original Cyberman, or one of the originals.
Yes,
I think it's a Mondasian Cyberman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's funny you say that though, Rick. I had that problem as well. I actually had the opposite problem. I was struggling to think of bad cliffhangers from New Who, whereas from Classic Who, I can think of quite a few. You know, again, those ones where you just go, stop.
Okay, I got one
know,
for you
or
then.
something like that, you know.
I'm not sure if this is a good cliffhanger or if it's a bad cliffhanger, but it is a cliffhanger. It's right at the end of the Keeper of Traken when Tree Mask gets turned into the Master.
Yep.
Now some
there you
people
go.
were saying Tree Mask obviously is an anagram of the Master. So, you know, were they that shocked? I don't know. Is that a good cliffhanger? Is that a bad cliffhanger? Should Anthony Ainley look like Roger? What do you think on that? I mean, for me, I like it.
I dug it.
I dug it, yeah. Not everyone does, but
well, can I throw in to answer
it.
Rachel's question? What about this then? I liked it, by the way, at the time. I was shocked. Because remember, even when you're buying the Doctor Who magazine, they didn't reveal all this stuff. So basically you go, oh my God, the Master's back. Because I slightly remembered him from John Pertwee's time, slightly. And then I loved the Deadly Assassin Master. Fantastic. Very scary. Didn't look as good in Keep of Traken, of course. But I have to agree with you, Rachel, that was a hell of a good reveal and shock. Now, can I add a supplementary question to that, everybody? If that was a good reveal, Keeper of Traken, end of episode 4, was it a good reveal at the end of the Giggle when somebody picks up the ring of the Master?
They've done that before, haven't they? Something similar.
Have literally the exact same thing.
Yeah, Drum series
That's
3.
sort of tough.
Yeah.
There was a full analysis online as looking at who actually had red fingernails, trying to
Someone
figure
was
out
saying,
who that was.
what's the drag queen's name?
Jinx Monsoon.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm not good with names, but Jinx Monsoon. Some people reckon it's going to be Jinx's character, whoever that is. Mrs. Blood.
Well, if you look at the scene, it was actually Kate that had red fingernails. So, looking real closely at the scene.
But then, this is going to sound really bad, but were they manly fingers or were they female fingers? I can't remember.
They were women's fingers.
It's a woman's hand.
So maybe it's not Jinx's.
Might have been Kate. Yeah, that's another one. I think everyone would say it was either Kate or Jinx,
Kate's nails were red in that episode.
But no, Kate would pick it up though.
I don't know why Kate would pick it up either, but
But there's a flaw in that scene also because there was nobody standing behind them before they walked off. Someone would have had to move over there behind them extremely fast, and that would have got their attention, and they would have looked at them. So
there's
it's a little bit of a strange scene.
It's right on the edge of a helipad with a massive drop.
Right.
But what you see, I have the answer for this. We're talking about cliffhangers, just like Sylvester McCoy was holding onto the shower curtain.
Yeah, just like, got it.
Actually, the person who was picking up the ring, who just was hanging on there because they knew there were a plot device in a minute. They were just hanging there waiting for their moment.
They're going to drop in from the sky.
And if they're holding on like that, to not crack their fingernails is fantastic. But,
Yeah.
Right. They'd have to have a
Honestly.
real Captain Kirk grip right there.
Yeah. Mind you,
Real
what I'm
manicure.
shocked.
Or
I
six
remember.
dot grip.
I remember
Right.
when it was announced on BBC One News at 6 o'clock, and they said that Doctor Who was being taken off the air. It was getting, they didn't say arrested then, they said it's getting taken off. And it was during the two Doctors. And I remember them watching this cliffhanger, which was really coinciding with all this news. And you may remember that, I mean, I like the two Doctors, but the problem with this cliffhanger was trying to get the wiring and the cables right. It was probably a nice cliffhanger by Robert Holmes in the script, but to try and realize trying to get him to drop and almost hand in a noose was problematic. And does everybody remember a bit of the resolution with that strange creature in a blanket that ended up being Fraser Hines? It was humping.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Mm.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
you had a hump. I mean, sadly, it was Jamie. So Jamie was humping Perry wearing a blanket thing while he was, Colin Baker fell as he was trying to, why? I never understood why Jamie was kind of attacking Perry with a blanket on him. It's like,
Well,
That's what
apart
he
from
was
her
getting
being a very
attacked.
beautiful woman, I think it wasn't that you'd been there for a long time.
yeah,
You'd been there
yeah,
for years.
yeah.
so it
He
kind
hadn't
of went
seen a
bit
woman
feral.
for a long time. No, I don't know what's going on there. But I did find that intriguing. You know, as a teenager, you go, what is going on? Why is he doing that? It's like a dog with a table leg. Oh, you see, as a kid, I loved this moment. Look at his dirty fingernails. That's not the master's, but yeah, I remember that.
Carnival. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
Carnival of Monsters.
Look at the effects
Jurassic
there.
Finger.
Utterly beautiful.
Oh, Michael Jaston.
Oh,
He could deliver a line, though, couldn't he?
it could.
I always wanted to see more of this after I learned about it and watched the
Oh,
episodes for the first
they,
time.
Yes.
They have him in the Big Finish audio dramas. So check
yeah.
him out on there. There's some really good ones
Cool.
with him.
Excellent
Really
stories
good
there.
ones. Yeah.
Although there is one that undoes this canon of him being one of the Doctors. It's called the Trial of the Valeyard. and
Yeah.
it sets something else up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've heard
that's
of it.
that's
Might
only
be-
if you accept Big Finish as canon. So I mean, it's a canon in
True.
its own right. So
I do.
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, that's a good story though. I do like that one.
Yeah. So Sadako,
Or at least some of it anyway.
Sadako 24 is trying to kind of get a different version of my hormonal teenage years, wondering what the hell was going on with Jamie and the two Doctors. I don't think it was meant to be a kind of attack. I think Jamie was just meant to have grown mad and paranoid and prone to attack anyone he saw as a threat, i.e. an American Perry. So, sorry, Americans, but she was a danger to
Either
him.
that or that's his excuse that he was feral.
Has
He
anyone
wasn't just trying to cop the feel.
heard the theory as part of the new cliffhanger discussions for what's been going on that the Valeyard might actually be reintroduced into Doctor Who?
Well, he
As
better
a
be.
man, woman.
Yes.
I don't know, but there was a rumor that's been going around saying that they're thinking about bringing the Valeyard back.
Jinx Monsoon wears black and white, and if you look at his costume, black and white. I'm being very
Yeah.
True, but the whole music note thing as well, though. So that
Yeah.
kind of, yeah.
I like this one because Kinder, Kinder's grown on me. As a kid, I found it boring. I'll be honest with you. I loved Nerys Hughes and I wanted her to be a companion, but I was actually like, where's the monsters? And it wasn't that type of story, was it? So it's only later when I watched Kinder, I'm going, I really liked. I mean, God, was it Richard Todd? You had what's the actor called? He's famous as well, isn't he? He was in The Bill and everything. But it was a really
Yeah, it's one of those stories, isn't it, that you appreciate as an adult more than a child. Like I was the same with The Rings of Akaton. I was a bit
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, it's a bit simple. Where's the monsters? But then when you actually watch it, and see actually how beautiful that is. With all the music and stuff. It's one of those. It requires thought, doesn't it?
Yeah, because he was going mad, wasn't he? It was like, wow, it was very grown up for kids to watch that. Paul Bowler, by the way, he's pulling us back to Trial of a Time Lord. part 13 was a brilliant cliffhanger. So we're in the ultimate 4 here, aren't we? This is the Valiard reveal, isn't it? I was at university, and it was you couldn't get reception very well in the building. It was that concrete mess, and I had a tiny portable. And I had my portable on about 25 textbooks balancing in the air with this dodgy aerial. I got my dad to come all the way from Middlesbrough to Lancaster University. He came back with, because our dad used to work for Rediffusion. He had the biggest aerials, our dad. So basically, he drove all the way back with these enormous aerials. But unfortunately, I had to reject because I said, Dad, I'll have to leave them in the halls of residence corridor. But anyway, Trial of a Time Lord, episode 13. And I could see through the haze the Matrix screen when the Master appeared. Is that the one? Yeah. And he said, you know, and then of course he revealed the Valiard. And yes, I understand, Paul Bowler. That was a brilliant cliffhanger if you can see it. I didn't know what was going on. But yes, it was. That's it. Salmon Rouse, of course. Salmon Rouse in Kinder, yeah. So that's the cliffhangers. I've got one more question before we all go and get a life. Let me just kind of, well, I mean,
what if you don't have one?
Yeah, speak for yourself.
At the moment,
I live here.
I don't know about the other content creators, but I tell you what, when you start doing this, you don't have a blooming life. I tell you. Right. Okay.
Never asked mine. What my cliffhanger was.
I've read so much news in the last year; it's unbelievable.
I know. Well, Jeremy.
Yeah, Brendan keeps me trapped here. He didn't let me.
Jeremy's been waiting because he had been ill, so I didn't know if he was coming on or not. So I didn't get his contribution. Go on then, cliffhanger from Jeremy.
Back when I was 6, 7 or 8, Day of the Daleks, when the Doctor gets out of the Land Rover, goes into the tunnel, and then the Daleks revealed. That just sends goosebumps down me.
I think we said on one of our earlier shows, I said anyway, Daleks in a corridor when you can't escape, and yes, in a tunnel, yeah. And I love.
Well, I thought that about the Dalek invasion of Earth, with all the Daleks coming out the river. I thought that because that must have been terrifying. I mean, because we all know that Dalek mania was huge back in the 60s.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to see the Daleks on another planet, in make-believe TV show, but it's one thing to see them, in iconic, London landmarks. You think, well, they're down the road from you. It brought the danger to you.
Now you kind of, yeah. London buses and everything. It's not the same.
A bit like the Sea Devils down at Redcar Beach.
Oh God, I know the Sea Devils. They were definitely at Redcar Beach. I knew it. That's why the donkeys didn't come back. So, yes. Last question of everybody. Here we go. So this is my version of saying stuff about merchandise. Now, it's a quick question because you've all got piles of money available. You know how they love to screw us for merchandise. So has anybody been haunted in the last few days on whatever your online social media is to buy this?
Nope.
I didn't know this existed until now.
Is this just me then? I've been haunted by this.
No, I've heard of it.
I already did this. I bought my wife one. She wanted one for
this?
Christmas last year, and so I bought her one of David Tennant. I think it was. It was expensive, man. It was like almost $100 for all of it. I think.
Was it limited?
Yeah, these Steefs are really expensive, but they're nice.
Came
quality.
and it came in like a TARDIS. If I knew exactly where it was, I'd go grab it real quick. But I might try to think about it on the next one. But it came in a nice like TARDIS shaped box and came with the clothes for you to put on and everything. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, it when I saw it, I thought, I'm not wanting to buy teddy bears, but I just thought, oh, it's Tom Baker, and actually, do you know what? That does look really good. Right, okay, I'm going to go around the panel. Brandon's kind of said what price he kind of paid before, so go on then. It's in the thread. Try not to look in the thread. If you have, please don't play the game. Right, how much do you reckon, Cinnamon?
For this one alone, I'm like £54.
Okay, my God, you're never going to make money, Jeremy.
I would say £34.99p.
Oh my! Oh, hold on. Are you all from Yorkshire? This is going very tight. Robin.
I'm gonna say £80.
Gosh, Last of the big spenders, eh? Brandon, you can update your price if you want.
I'm trying. I can't remember specifically what I did pay, but I'd say 75 or 80 American.
Okie doke, Rachel.
I can't play. I read the chat before you actually said it.
Okay. Would you have said that price though before I asked timescales?
Yeah, I probably would have said lower than what it is. Yeah.
Okay. Timescales?
Yeah.
Well, I've purchased a couple of Steve teddy bears from Germany as gifts, and they were somewhere around $60 to $70 US. But considering the fact that this one here says that there's only 1,974 of them being produced, if I had to guess, I would say it's probably $200.
Okay. Well, just
Also, have you noticed the fact that it says
Yeah, just put
1974
that
is
there.
also the same day that the Doctor
Oh.
he became the Doctor? as
Whoa,
well?
let me see what that is in Yankee dollars.
300.
Oh, wow. That's over $400 here.
Yeah.
Well over $400.
Wow.
Why is it? Is it because it's that limited, or is it just
Yeah, and I
because
think it's the
Disney are now
company.
involved?
That's
think it's-
ridiculous.
Well, they're expensive to begin
almost
with, and then
400.
this is a limited edition also.
It's almost $450.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
Ah,
Right.
now I understand how much that is.
That's nearly my month's rent.
Do you want a teddy then? I mean,
I'm good. I'm good.
Nah, I'm all right.
Not for that
She better
price.
not ask for another one.
this is the trouble. We've been spending the last 2 hours talking about why we love Doctor Who and the memorable moments. And merchandise-wise, you know, we've had the season 15 Blu-ray that's about to arrive at our doors. There's plenty of Big Finish. There's books and everything. And then, I'm sorry, but where do you find the money for that?
I think-
Unbelievable.
I think if I had to pay for that, my wallet would be bare.
Oh, I mean,
Bare of nothing.
I'm surprised it isn't with all these gadgets you've got in your house.
Sorry.
So I'm surprised it isn't already with all these
No.
gadgets
Well,
that you've
there's
got.
merchandise.
All these Daleks.
There's merchandise, and then there's merchandise, and this is the merchandise I prefer rather than those, you know, those Funko things, those vinyl.
Yeah,
I got a
that's
couple,
true.
but not many.
There's tacky merchandise, and then there's really good merchandise. I mean, these are not bad. These character options figures.
so what's that one, Brandon, again? Oh,
This one is the Fourth Doctor. It's basically is it Seeds of Doom costume?
oh yeah, yeah.
Bas-
The grey cut, yeah,
13.
the grey.
Yeah, the grey variant.
Yeah.
I think the one I have is
I
like
don't know. I got this. It's only one I've got, but I just
I
thought
think the one I have is like
It's
the
all
red
right.
jacket.
Get that
Yeah.
I don't collect those. I mean, if other people like them, great, but they just don't do it for me.
All of mine somebody else bought for me.
Yeah, that's handy. That's handy. I know. Well, it's my birthday coming up in May, so if any, but no, right, okay. So thank you for your time, and just let me just advertise, if you don't mind, on Tuesday 4 p.m. it will be our Wild Blue Yonder, because we only started mid-December. If people have been following us, and so basically we are still new to this, and we have to be complete, and that's the only one we haven't done. And of course, if you're new to us, it's Sundays at 7, it's Tuesdays at 4. And as I said, please like and subscribe, because those tractators need a planet-sized wormery away. Come on, you know I can do it. So,
again, Sunderland's a good alternative.
what's that?
Send them there.
My arms feel long.
I say Sunderland's a good alternative. Send them there. Or Leeds.
That's true.
Take your
That's
pick.
true. But it won't get me subscribers, you little swine. So anyway, thank you for your time, everybody. I really appreciate it. Good night. Thank you in the thread. It's been really busy. No cliffhangers now. The show's over.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.